and your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only...
But why? $22 million in 3 fucking hours! There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not. Neither go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
What's your dream? To go away.
To go away. That's right.
Do you guys want to drink? I don't understand why everybody has to be so judgmental. I understand why mom's judgmental. I think it's because she cares partially. And it's also partially because everyone else is looking at her like, hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
Let's go, baby. Happy Wednesday.
Boom. What's up,
bang,
y'all?
Ow. Back, man. It's a good Wednesday. We got a banger stream. Neobanks are ripping. Markets are feeling good. Man, it's good.
Dude,
to be
it's
a trader today.
It's a good time. It's a good time to be in crypto. And we got the MCG merch too. Repping this set real quick.
Bro, right by my desk, I keep a fat stack of just merch. We got like 6 shirts now, and now it's, I got Solomon Lab shirt, I got a Solana shirt, I got all the MCG colorways. So it depends. Although I did wear this one yesterday, bro. You nasty, I know, but it is what it is. I wear it for like 3-4 hours, and I just take it off, and it's not like I'm going out the house in this. But how we doing, Chill? I haven't spoken with you yet this week on stream.
Yeah, no, it's going good, man. It's going good. The Discord is popping. The trades are going well. Like you said, bro, markets are feeling good. A lot of opportunity everywhere. I still feel like, though, overall, like in the grand scheme of things, like crypto is still massively slept on as an asset class, as an industry. There's a ton of exciting things going on. We see, I was about to put out a tweet yesterday and it didn't go out for whatever reason. I think I just forgot to schedule it, but I basically said innovation in crypto is at an all-time high. We have all these, neobanking protocols are popping off again. We have the ACE rounds connecting, tokens to equity. We have so many different things coming. I mean, you have bio LLM
coins, we got equities, we got pre-IPO, we got robotics. What are we talking about, bro? We're
Bro,
lit.
we have everything. We have everything. So I feel like crypto is now becoming so far early stage. It's now showing signs of being that place where capital can go out on the risk curve and still seek and find value, right? Like that's where what crypto was before. You know, stocks were pumping and everyone like was like, okay, everything's pumped already. Where can we go to get more gains? You come to crypto, man. You come to crypto for the wildest gains but now we actually have innovation that can attract new capital. And I think that is why this is the perfect time to be in crypto right now.
Simple as, man. Dare I even walk back to a tweet I threw out last night? And just like you, Chill, I was gonna put out a tweet last night on some trades, but I do not want to get front run. And I truly think if I put out these tweets, like I'm gonna have some capital front run me. I'm turning around looking at my board, man. Last night I did a price to market cap, price to earnings ratio breakdown of like a lot of the top tokens doing buybacks. Boys. There are a lot of sleepers. I put out this tweet. Really no point in going down the crypto risk curve right now. There are so many projects doing stupid revenue with significant buybacks that are completely overlooked. Many sitting at or around a 1.0 price to FTV ratio with increasing revenues and a strong growth proposition. I think positioning right now in a handful of leaders will yield significant returns. Again, most people are completely asleep at the wheel. Fading crypto as a whole, right? People are asleep at the wheel, fading crypto as a whole right now. Not me, not us at MCG, not the boys in the chat. Yo, roll call. How are the boys doing? Who's here with us today? Top fumbler legend. By the way, give credit where credit is due. This guy's been cooking. I don't want to expose his name because I know he's super, focused on his privacy and stuff. But I'll tell you, he sent a trade recently. Won't tell you where it was, but it cooked big time. So he's cooking. Discord's cooking. This tweet is how I'm feeling though. Why go down the risk curve? I'm gonna do a little pre-reveal here. We got 10 minutes till Pop Punk from Pumpcade comes on. And then Pablo after that with his humanoid robot that climbed 20,000 feet. Crazy conversation. Let me give you a little sneak peek at what I'm looking at. Because last night I was up till about 2:30 a.m. doing some research. I was supposed to put out a tweet, and then I got sidelined trying to look at competitors. And it brought me down this rabbit hole. Excuse me. Suffering from allergies. Bear with me here, though. I'm looking at my board. Let's take a look here. Hyperliquid. They do about $2 million in daily revenue with about 98% in buybacks. I'd have to check what the market cap is trading at right now, but I believe it was. I don't even want to say because I'd probably get it wrong. Below that, I have JTO, kind of like a beta to Hyperliquid. Solana's perp platform, right? We know Solana's going to make a big push towards perps. We saw yesterday Sunrise and Backpack listed SpaceX spot position. Huge success, did $120 million of volume just yesterday. The day before that, 80 million. The day before that. So it's been doing numbers like 220 million plus cumulative volume. I'm probably off a little bit, but you understand the gist. JTO is going to do 80% buybacks, Hyperliquid style situation there, being pushed by Solana. I think the bet here is this is going to be a native Solana platform. People aren't going to have to leave the chain. It's going to be right there and easy. Issue with that is there's no price to earnings to really correlate this with. Although they're going to do a lot of buybacks, we're pre-revenue, pre-product. However, they did get a $50 million raise, $50 million investment to build out this JTX perps platform. Okay. So that one's exciting. Although it's hard, that's totally a speculative growth play, assuming that it gets a lot of volume and attention. Again, Solana's going to push that hard. They're going to make a hard push for it. 80% of revenue Solana got to the token. So they've got a lot of potential. The thing is, JTO has done $2.5 million in buybacks. I believe they're doing $1 to $2 million a quarter in profits right now. So that's, of course, the other side of the business. This perp platform is going to completely take this to another level. Hard to trade right now with no profits. Now, everything else does have profits I'm about to mention. This one I found really interesting. I was going to put out a tweet yesterday on Backpack. Now, I've been talking about Backpack. It's up since we talked about it and I spoke about it. Again, they listed SpaceX with Sunrise. It got incredible volume.
Real quick, shout out Dom on this, yo. If you guys were watching the stream on Monday, you saw that Dom called out in the chat BP. And I mean, since then, it's pulled back, given a nice entry. And it's now reversing. So yeah, I mean, look, all credits to Dom on this. You were the one who put this one on my radar.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's really good, and especially considering it's at 100 million market cap. This thing's at 100 million market cap. It just released SpaceX, its first foray, whatever it is, into equities, and the thing takes 75% of the Solana market share for spot positions. 75% on its first launch. It does show how important distribution is. So here's the numbers with Backpack. Apparently, when I was going down the rabbit hole and digging, now these are unverified numbers coming from the founder based on reports. Backpack was seeking a $1 billion valuation for their recent raise. Now, if you don't know, Backpack is special in the sense that their token actually represents equity in the company. So if you stake the Backpack token upon IPO, 20% of the equity will be pro rata distributed to stakers. 20% of the equity in the company. So if they raised at $1 billion valuation and we're seeking a $1 billion valuation raise, you can take 20% of the FDV, and that would be, again, what the equity value is. So in a sense, they don't have buybacks, but if this is a direct correlation to equity, you kind of have the same thing going on when they do IPO, when they do list, and assuming that, this new venture into equities being the go-to platform where all the other ones failed on launch day for SPX or not SPX, SpaceX. All the other ones kind of failed. They didn't do very well. Sunrise stepped up, Backpack stepped up, Meteor stepped up, and they were there. It's a really, really interesting one. Trading around 100 million last I checked. FDV is about 50% higher. 65% is staked. They were seeking a $1 billion valuation. And according to the CEO, according to the team, they did $100 million in annualized revenue last year, 2025. $100 million, which is pretty crazy to me considering this is trading at $100 million before they even introduced the equities. Now, I don't think they made much money off the equities because they were kind of just doing it to really gain attention for the platform. So I think they foregone a bunch of those fees. But nonetheless, sleeper pick right there. You guys should be locked in. DRV is the next one on the list. DRV is an options platform on Base doing really, really strong volume. They do 35% buybacks. All IP is owned by the token holders. Again, that's sitting around 100 million as well. It is the leading options platform. Keep your eyes on that. Obviously, Pump, we know about Pump. They're doing 50% buybacks. They have a 1-to-3 price to earnings ratio to market cap right now, assuming this grows in a bull market. So they're doing about 165 million a year at current rates, and that's for the buybacks. I'm saying, not profits, right? 50% goes to buybacks. So 165 million a year in buybacks is a 1-to-3 price to earnings ratio to the market cap, or a 1-to-10 to the fully diluted value, which I would lean to the FDV for Pump. Pretty interesting. Jupiter is also doing 50% buybacks. They've done about $3 million in buybacks in Q2. This has been going on for like 2 years now. The price to earnings ratio is a little higher here, 1-to-18 price to earnings to market caps, although there are no more unlocks, right? So Jupiter recently announced they're not going to be doing any more unlocks. 50% is circulating. I think the other 50% is being held for now. These are not buybacks and burns for Jupiter. These are buybacks, and I think there's 3 years of vesting, and then the people will decide what to do with them. The DAO will vote. Grass is one, unreported numbers, but they're doing around 30 to 50 million annualized right now. That one's trading severely under what it should be. But again, you have to remember, these are self-reported numbers. The team's very bad at communication. So Grass, you can't really add to this list. And finally, again, guys, I was up late last night. I have to check on my boy Meteora, right? We got Pump Fund in there. Meteora is trading at 60 million. Chill, would you believe this? They have $40 million in their treasury. Why is Meteora trading at $60 million with $40 million of net asset value?
For a second, I thought you said 16. I was like, wait a second. Smash the buy button. No, even at 60 mil, the same thing. I mean, we've talked about this how many times on these streams? Like, I think it's just getting overlooked right now, but that's set to change. That's set to change.
And again, these are things both Pump and Meteor can fit in the basket of when the markets really pick up, these volumes are going to go from what they are now to much, much higher. So it's a growth trade, especially when markets pick up. But Meteor has done $13 million in buybacks. They bought 4%. And they have $40 million sitting in a treasury between Solana and USDC, largely 35 million being USDC, the other 4 million being Solana, I believe. So it doesn't really make sense. Of course, we know there are no guaranteed buybacks for Meteor. There is no equity component, although we know Soju's kind of at the forefront of this, and he says he wants the best for the token. He's also explicitly stated there's no equity in token. There is just a token. So if you take that at face value, and you look at $40 million in the treasury, you look at their continued profit and revenue, which is high, many millions of dollars a quarter, you got to look at that as undervalued, I think. So I know that was a lot. Last night I was up late doing that. Chill, I'm going to let you take it for like 2 minutes. And we got Pop Punk coming on from Pumpcade. Raised $6 million, backed by Jump, backed by Pump Fund, of course, backed by Foundation Capital. They got a new COO, I want to say, coming on. Maybe he's going to give us some alpha on that. They got some, MVP is in progress right now. They have a platform coming out soon. It's going to be a really exciting conversation. I'm not going to queue it up too much till I get back, but chill. I'll let you go for a couple minutes. I got to take a leak. So I'll be back.
No, you're good. You're good. Do your thing. All right, guys, real quick. I don't want to spend too much time. We have Pumpcade coming on here in just a moment. Let me do this, add my screen, just to kind of give you guys some context. I mean, we kind of all understand what the markets are feeling like right now. But right now, Bitcoin going into an area of resistance. We've been watching that for the last few days, kind of respecting that resistance so far here. I won't get too much into majors or anything right now since the interview, since we're about to have the interview here in the next, probably the next 2 minutes or so. But that's just overall big picture, what we're looking at on Bitcoin. Obviously, you see the amount of green that we have on the right side of the screen here. We have hype, revisiting all-time highs. Low-key made a marginally new all-time high. WorldCoin holding its gains very well and breaking through a key level of resistance. XPL, of course, everyone is talking about XPL, and that's also kind of leading off this neobanking narrative. We have so many other pumps, so many other things that are going well here in the market. So we have a lot to talk about, but here's the show today. Here's the show schedule. So our first interview is coming up here with Pumpcade. We'll get to that here in the next minute or two. After Pumpcade, we have our second interview coming up at 1:15. And that will be with Peak and Pablo. So we'll have Pablo on at 1:15. Now, once the 1:15 interview is done, here's what's going to happen. We're going to dive into majors. We'll dive into on-chain. And then for all you viewers that are here all the time, you're watching the stream, we actually are going live with the Discord today. We're going live with the Discord today. That'll be at the end of the stream. Super excited about that. But Dom, I'll go ahead and let you tee up the Pumpcade interview.
That I will, chill. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had the man, the myth, the legend, Pop Punk on before. This was early days, man. I'd like to say this was the OGs of Pumpcade know this. This is before they got the fame and fortune. What I mean by famous fortune, I believe they had maybe even raised $1 million before this. But since coming on MCG, they raised an additional $5 million, right? So sitting at $6 million raised, backed by the likes of Pump Fund, Foundation Capital, and Jump. They have a new team member coming on board, so maybe we get some alpha on this, who's also had a background at Pump Fund, background at Jump. Very good project. They were the first people to do the ACE round. We had them on just before this. The first people to do the ACE round. Since that's become quite the trend and a very big success. And again, the ACE round is a conversion of tokens to safe agreements, which are obviously are convertible to equity at price rounds. Very exciting stuff. I think we got a lot to get into. The platform is almost ready. I think what I want to get from this conversation, chill, is we're getting Pumpcade on, we're getting Pop Punk back, and they got a lot of money invested at a seemingly pretty high valuation. So there was some big selling, big pitching that they did. I guess the question here becomes, what is this platform going to look like? I think everyone's really excited. I saw some people on my timeline giving high praise, beta testers giving high praise to what this looks like, a big stamp of approval. So I think that's my biggest takeaway. How big could this thing get? How good does it look? What's, ultimately the vision? Has anything changed? Let's talk us through the raise. Lot to cover here. Guys, without further ado, let me get Mr. Pop Punk up himself. How are we doing? Welcome back to the show.
What's up? What's up, man? Pleasure. It's been a few months. Things have gotten pretty damn hectic since we last spoke.
I mean, I think that the team's grown. You guys have been like builder shipping mode. Like I said, you guys went on to raise from some, dare I say, pretty notable names. Dude, how are things going? You guys like, what's the energy level looking like behind the scenes?
Energy is incredible, and the entire like life cycle of Pumpcade since we started has been like build in public, share everything. We're finally onto some stuff that I think is going to be really, really impactful when we release it, and it's really stuff that no one's kind of doing anywhere, like even in prediction markets, outside of prediction markets. And it's stuff that like our protocol and just the way that we built our application to just be hyper focused on speed and instant resolutions, it lends really well to. So like for the first time ever, we're kind of building and keeping things close to our chest, and it's definitely interesting for us to do right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Really great to hear that. I think we have a pretty big audience here. Some new, some old. You guys have a new audience as well, who I mean, I think are looking to get familiarized with yourself and Pumpcade as a whole. We're not going to spend too long on product. A lot of this is going to be update focused, but for the new people, I do want to get your background, a bit about yourself, and then Pumpcade, and then we can kind of get to the regularly scheduled show.
Yeah, sure. Background, I can just speed run through it. I got into crypto in 2015 when I was in college, got a computer science degree, spent a couple years working in TradFi at hedge funds, absolutely hated it. Eventually got deeper and deeper into crypto, landed at Gemini, where I was on the trading systems and engine team, worked there for a couple years, ultimately quit because I wanted to get to know like the blockchain at a more intricate level. My job at Gemini was like Web2 engineering, just so happened to be like a kind of Web3 product. So I learned how to write Solidity, landed a job at a Y Combinator startup leading protocol engineering, quit that because I got obsessed with gas optimization, ran an auditing firm for 2 years, had a startup, joined Limit Break. And then the most interesting part is like I was working at Limit Break. I deployed a token on Pump Fund. All of my friends were like, what the fuck are you doing? I got delusionally optimistic about what I was building with it and just like where I could take it. Quit my job right after having a newborn. So my wife wasn't the most hype about that, but I spent
nuts.
Yeah, it was like, she was like, just promise me if like you don't think it's gonna work, you'll get a job. And I'm like, yeah, totally. But I'm like, it's gonna work. It's obviously gonna work. It has to work.
Burn the shit.
Yeah, so I built the product Solo, which is essentially these instantly resolved short duration prediction markets as short as 60 seconds on anything with a verifiable data source. Worked on it solo for 6 months, didn't pay myself a dime. Pump Fund Hackathon comes out. I'm selected as one of the winners. Within a day of that, I had an oversubscribed pre-seed round. Announced that 10 days later, we raised a very oversubscribed seed round, which was $5 million from Jump Crypto and Foundation. Team is now 5 people. We have an open testnet beta live, and we are shipping a bunch of stuff in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, that's that'll certainly be a pretty good clip because you just went crazy. I didn't even remember you were ex Gemini or ex hedge fund. I'm not sure. We probably talked about that the last time you were on the show, but that's pretty cool to note. So you guys go do this raise. It's oversubscribed. Do you have any numbers on the valuation? I think that was a big speculation point, right? We were looking at this. So you did the raises, then you announced the ACE round. For those that are unfamiliar with that, could you maybe firstly get into what the ACE round is and why you chose to do this after you went and raised?
Yeah, so the ACE round is basically the ACE protocol. It's asset conversion to equity built by MetalX Labs. Shout out Gabe Shapiro. I think you guys had him on recently too. Yep. But what ACE allows you to do is it lets holders of the token convert their tokens for safe notes, so simple agreements for future equity. This is basically how like a VC is going to invest in an early round of a company. What they're going to do is they're going to get safe access to equity. And when we came out and announced the ACE round, it kind of like broke crypto Twitter for like a day or two. Everyone was like, what the hell's going on? Like, what are they doing? Do they not care about the token anymore? But from my perspective, like I spent months and months and months like looking for a solution like this, and ultimately went with ACE because it fits the best. Because we have people that have been in Pumpcade since it was 50K market cap, and like the token was basically trading completely sideways at like 50 to 100K for the first couple of weeks. People were accumulating. We wanted this to be fair launched. So we wanted these people to actually be on the same playing field and sit on the cap table with, the top tier S tier investors that we have, because as much as people don't want to admit it, equity exists in most crypto companies. Like pretty much most companies in our space that have raised venture capital, there's an equity layer. But, you know, CT and these people that just want to treat everything as a meme coin, they don't think about that. They don't want to know that like there's another avenue. And then this stuff really kind of comes to head when you see how many companies in our industry get acquired and the acquiring party just ditches the token and everyone's kind of left in a free fall. So what we wanted to do was give token holders the optionality to have access to the equity. And you can treat it as like insurance. You can treat it as like maybe Pumpcade gets acquired, IPO'd, like whatever it may be. The thing for us was we wanted to make it an option. Like I explored other paths where it tokenized all equity and stuff like that. Just didn't really fit for me. It kind of turns the token into the product and the product doesn't really shine. You kind of get pressured into spending VC money on buybacks and stuff. So for us, ACE was perfect. And the response on Twitter was insane. Like Pumpcade was the main character on Twitter that day. People were making comparisons. Yeah, people were making like comparisons to projects. People are like, do they not give a fuck about the token anymore? But like, if you look at it from a high level perspective, we care about the token so much that we're willing to give away our very, very valuable equity that we even turned away millions of more investor dollars for this equity. We're willing to give it back to acquire the token. So in my opinion, like that should say, like, obviously, you know, our thoughts and stuff on the token. And yeah, ACE was some of like the craziest times of like the history of Pumpcade. Like my DMs were just like a cesspool, like everything went nuts.
Yeah, you know what? Ace was really cool. I loved it. Was definitely a unique way to look at tokens and tokenomics. I really preferred it and enjoyed it, I think, as a model. There was a lot of backlash. Notably, the backlash was coming from people who also were like heavy supporters of other platforms. So, I mean, that should be taken into account, obviously. But with that said, you know, let's take a step back. You did the ACE round. What would you have changed? What would you have done different? What were you like happy about with the ACE round? I believe you guys did a 1 to 333 token to equity conversion or token to safe conversion.
I think it was 1 point or 2.5 tokens to every like 1 point of equity. So 2.5 to 1. Honestly, I wouldn't have changed a single thing about ACE. A lot of people were like, oh, they're not going to get 25%, but it's like that's the maximum percent of the supply that we were willing to take in. We were willing to exchange equity for it. I think we wound up getting somewhere between 6 to 7% of the total supply. That was 6 to 7% of the total supply that was converted for equity. And to us, that's incredible. Like, you know, for a token that's like, you know, like 100 to 200 to 500K market cap, like locking like 6.5% of the supply for a year, which is what ACE does, doesn't mean something. But Pumpcade is an 8-figure token, and you combine that with the 10% of the supply that investors had with previous rounds, like we have like 16% of the Pumpcade supply that is not going to move at all for an entire year. So to me, ACE was a massive success. Obviously, there were some like short-term effects and stuff on the token, but I raised $6 million from some of the best VCs in the world to like have capital to build a product. Like if people think that I give like a single fuck about like the short-term price of the token, like you're very incorrect.
Yeah. One thing I would be curious to hear from your perspective, because you've been in more communication with these liquid funds and VCs than we have. You said you turned people away. The one thing that I found interesting is like the number that these people raised at was undisclosed to the general public. So, you know, when the token dipped, and this is what's interesting about ACE, hypothetically, when the token dips below that fair value, people should take that arbitrage opportunity, convert to equities. Of course, there's a tie up there, and that essentially gives the market, really, it should trade at a premium because it has the liquid aspect to it, right? That's how I look at it, at least personally. Some people will disagree. Again, mostly people that support other platforms. But with that being said, you know, the funding rounds weren't disclosed the valuation that you guys raised at. Were you seeing a lot of funds, liquid VCs, people that maybe didn't make it in the round, who maybe knew the price, participate when the token did dip below that kind of threshold and they were buying and converting to equity? Did you see any of that happen? Does that question make sense?
I don't think we really saw like people waiting for certain prices and stuff to convert. I think it was just a matter of like people that didn't get access to, you know, our pre-seed or seed round and like think that our equity is valuable. We're just getting in at like whatever time they really wanted to. I think the reason why sort of like ACE is priced in terms of the token and there are no like dollar amounts is because it is like intended to be like everything is in terms of the token. Like you should like do whatever math and stuff that you want like based on the token. Obviously our round valuation was not public, and it's not something that like we were going to share like with like the ACE and stuff like that, but it was really interesting. Like we saw like a massive burst of conversions right in the beginning, and then it was like kind of just like pretty stagnant and just like conversions every like couple days throughout the process, and then a bunch at the end when people wanted to get in. But like overall, to me, I don't regret doing ACE. Like I think it's the best thing that like we could have done, because it is really cool to think that some like degen on crypto Twitter is now sitting on the same cap table as like Foundation, who was one of the earliest investors in Netflix in 1999, and like Jump Crypto, just like these absolute giants. Like it's just hilarious to think about like that being like the reality.
I mean, that's the whole point of this space, right? Democratizing access to some of these opportunities. I mean, a question that I had for you there, Pop Punk, was if you had any advice to crypto founders, you know, whether they have a history in crypto or not, what advice would you give them based on your experience doing ACE? Like based on your own feedback and experience, what would you tell other founders?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like it sort of is a matter of like the way that Pumpcade started is like we had the token before anything, and like all of these early token holders basically allowed me to quit my job, like, you know, from trading fees and stuff like that. I was comfortable to quit my job. So you get to the point where it's like, okay, now you bring investor capital in, you bring institutional money in. Like you really can't, like you're an idiot if you want to like hang out like your like token holders and stuff to dry. Like they should be a part of this and stuff like that. So I really do think that if you raise institutional capital, you 100% should give token holders the opportunity to have that exact same, you know, like equity and be on the same playing field as investors. I think it's fair because like in terms of CT, everyone's just going to care about the token. The investors and stuff care about equity, but you should give the optionality to token holders to be able to care about the equity like these venture capitalists do. So I think that everyone should do ACE, to be completely honest.
Can I even kind of piggyback off that a little bit? People keep asking about the token utility. Obviously, you were willing to acquire the token for actual equity in the company, about 6-7%. It equated to, you know, close to $1 million or maybe $1 million of value in actual tokens converted, which is, I think, very successful. Now, a lot of the gripe was, okay, well, in 1 year, what happens to these tokens? Can they just get recirculated over and over again? So I guess I'm going to put that question back on you. You have all these tokens now. They're locked up for a year. You know, what happens to those tokens in a year? Why did you want those tokens? Can you maybe expound upon the utility you see, I think, coming for the actual token?
Yeah, so we posted a couple months ago the full tokenomics and how the Pumpcade token plays into the platform. If you go to like the articles tab on the Pumpcade Twitter, it's very, very long, like it's like 3,000 words. But just to like quickly sum that up, congestion fees, when a market gets closer to a more defined state, congestion fees come into play on a curve. Those congestion fees will wind up taking or buying tokens off the open market, burning them, holding them. People can buy the Pumpcade Pass, which is like kind of like a battle pass type thing. If someone buys it with USDC, we buy Pumpcade and burn it. People can get a discount paying with Pumpcade, and then we burn it. But the tokens that we got from ACE, they're really to be used how we can see best fit, like the growth of the company. Like if we want to do like user acquisition with the tokens, like if we want to raise more rounds or whatever, like stuff like that. It's not just going to be like tokens that we keep in our pocket to like floor. And I think that people can really believe us on that based on the fact that we were holding 10% of the token even before we raised the round. We had 10% for the hackathon that was actually donated to us. And now it's all on chain on Streamflow vesting, but like we've never sold a single token. Like the token for us is not a way for us to make profit. The token for us is really how do we make the best product that we can. And I think the really unique thing about the Pumpcade tokenomics is because our token existed right from day zero, we had an interesting kind of like problem, but it was a fun problem to solve. And it's like, how do we build a product around the token rather than like what most companies do is they build the token around the product. They're like, okay, like how can we get the token to fit in here? But for us, it was like, how can we make the product and the token work the best? And I'm really, really excited for, you know, the tokenomics that like me, my CPO Steve, my CTO Andrew, like came up with here.
Love it. Love it. Let's talk about the team. Okay. Everyone wants to know what's going on with the team. You guys have expanded quite a bit. There's been this new team member, mysterious team member that's been hinted at. X Jump, X Pump Fun. What's the word on this, frankly speaking?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're not gonna reveal like exactly who it is. That's like when that person wants to do it. But we were hiring for a growth lead role for about a month, interviewed tons and tons of incredible candidates, and we were at the tail end of the process with a few people. And then this person came to me and said that they wanted to join Pumpcade because they were, you know, interested in leaving where they were. And I interrupted them before they could even finish their sentence. And I'm like, I will hire you immediately, because this person is like quite literally a weapon. Like I have had the chance to like work with this person a little bit prior, and there are a lot of time, you know, like me, myself, like the CTO, CPO, our backend engineer, we're all engineers. We know what we know, but we also know what we don't know. And we know how to build really, really good tech and a good product. But this COO that I brought on now, like 8 days ago, like is really someone that I think can just 100x Pumpcade as a whole, like the distribution, the marketing, a lot of like these mechanics and stuff. And yeah, I mean, people have been like speculating on who it is and stuff like that, which is interesting.
Some sleuths out there.
Some sleuths out there doing some stuff, but yeah, really, really pleased. Like, I think right now, yeah, I mean, Pumpcade, we have probably one of the most talented teams in the entire space. In terms of engineering, I think we go toe to toe with teams that have 20, 50, 100 employees. Like the way that we're able to ship and how optimized we are is insane. And it's just because like, I've known all of my engineers for a few years. We've been friends. They're all veterans in the space with like 5 to 10 years of experience in like building protocols and building crypto applications. So yeah, the Pumpcade team right now is in just like the best state. Like so excited to wake up every morning and just like cook with these people. Some people are in different time zones and I get to wake up and it's like Christmas morning for me every morning, like seeing what they did when I was asleep.
That's awesome. I wanna walk it back a little bit because I feel like we've done a bit of a disservice to the people that are new trying to figure out what Pumpcade is. We've talked a bit about updates. I got ahead of myself, got excited. What's the vision here for Pumpcade? Obviously, people are familiar with prediction markets. You're doing something a little bit different. Can you explain what that is exactly?
Yeah, so Pumpcade in the simplest terms is very, very fast prediction markets that resolve instantly. So we've seen, you know, Polymarket time and time again has had issues with resolutions, unclear, ambiguous markets, rules changing. You know, we've seen stuff like, did Zelensky wear a suit? Did Cardi B perform at the Super Bowl? And more recently, the MicroStrategy market. And to us, like my core ethos is that if you want to be deemed as a truth machine, you cannot have a human in the resolution loop, and you cannot have a market that's not resolved with either data or math itself. So Pumpcade, we have guardrails on the types of markets that we support. So it's up-down stuff on pump fund tokens, stocks, commodities, futures, equities, and then like sports, like we can get really, really granular on our sport data. We have one of the best, if not the best and fastest sport data provider in the world. We can get data faster than like MLB.com can show it. And because our markets are like gated to only things that resolve instantly, we're able to do much faster markets. Like we can do a 1-minute market because we know as soon as the minute ends, we can resolve the market programmatically and you know whether you won or lost and you have your payout. And that's something that these platforms don't really offer. And it's because a lot of the markets that they do, they're ambiguous. They actually require someone to like look at the results and post a solution. And then it might have to go through like an UMA dispute period and stuff like that. So with Pumpcade, our whole ethos, as I said, is like markets need to resolve instantly so that you as a user know that if you're a winner in the market, you're never a loser when resolution time comes. And that's sort of what we're pushing now is, you know, we have these up-down markets in our beta and the sports stuff is coming in the next couple of weeks. And what we're doing with sports, I think, has the opportunity to just fully change sports betting and actually break a crypto application into mainstream. And that's like down to the way that we're building the product. Like it's approachable, especially our sports stuff. Like you don't need to know anything about sports. Like you can still understand the markets. All crypto is abstracted. And that's really the goal and what we're like our North Star is right now.
Well, yeah. Okay. So that kind of leads me into a perfect conversation of the go-to-market here. I mean, you talk about the product. People are doing prediction markets. Yours is obviously different in a few ways, but what's the go-to-market strategy? You said you've abstracted crypto out of it. It seems like you're targeting much more of that mainstream audience. What are you guys thinking there? What's the strategy of taking this to the masses and making that breakout product, like you mentioned?
So there's a lot of stuff that like our COO, like when announced, we'll talk about and stuff like that. And we also don't want to leak some things, but we're obviously going to start Pumpcade on CT and like crypto users. That's like all of our fans, our followers and stuff, the people that are using the product, like they're meme coin traders, they're in crypto. We obviously have the close connection with Pump Fund being the lead investor in our pre-seed round. So we can really start and build like a really good foundation of like liquidity and volume and stuff with crypto. And then we have a full iOS and Android app that we've never even showed on Twitter yet. That's almost fully done. Like debit pay to like onboard like fiat, like you don't see transactions, like nothing is crypto, no addresses and stuff like that. And we're really going to approach crypto Twitter, like our go-to-market and our launch there carefully. And then we already have relationships with really, really large like sports betting companies, sports betting funds that want to connect us to like athletes, agents of athletes and stuff like that. But this basically like the answer to your question kind of like boils down to like we start in crypto, get a foundation, and that will like give us, you know, like the momentum we need to expand outside of crypto and put this on Instagram everywhere, TikTok everywhere and stuff like that.
So it kind of starts with you guys tapping into those distribution rails that you already have access to between yourself, Pump Fund, friends, investors, whatever it might be. I want to talk about the money you guys raised. There's $6 million raised. You said you've turned away money already. You know, we see a lot of these prediction markets making massive marketing pushes. I mean, I can't begin to imagine how much of their spend goes towards marketing. When you kind of look at the runway you guys have, how is that looking? How much of that is going towards, I guess, like building the product versus set aside for maybe a go-to-market strategy, or kind of just curious about anything in that regard?
Yeah. So I also like one of the reasons too why a lot of these prediction markets do have to raise a ton of money is market makers. Like the centralized limit order book needs market makers to work efficiently. Our markets are really short term and they use pari-mutuel. So we don't have the same liquidity requirements. We don't need to be paying market makers and like creating spreads and stuff like that. But I definitely raised more money like than we need. Like I don't need $6 million right now. Like I built a really good team. Our burn is as lean and efficient as possible with 5 people. And, you know, we will have the opportunity to raise tons and tons, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars more, like when we can show the product. But I basically raised for like what we're going to need for like this go to market and then have tons and tons of leeway if we have to make changes and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe talk to me a little bit more about the product too. Obviously, you have a grand vision for this, a big vision, and I want you to kind of touch on that vision. What should people expect? I mean, I was looking at this and I guess I wasn't aware, but it looks like the beta is currently out now. Could I go and try this? Is this live?
Yeah. The beta is fully live with like up down markets and stuff like that. We have an entire new UI that's coming with like our big sports push and stuff, and we have the iOS and Android apps. Beta reception has been great. Like people just love to be able to like create a market on a Pump Fund token and predict, is it going to go up or down? I think that Pumpcade makes Pump Fund a lot more fun because you really can game it. Like create a market when a token is about to migrate and you know that it's likely going to go down. So it's like almost like free money in that kind of sense to use it. But right now we have the product live in beta, testnet funds. There's a faucet and there's up down markets for Pump Fund tokens, some like oil, some stocks and stuff like that. But the beta is basically going to be continued to be shipped to. One of the biggest reasons, obviously, now why like people are like, oh, why aren't you live? Why aren't you on mainnet? And it's legal. Like what we want to do is like we're taking the most like holistic and safe approach to building this product. So we're going through the process of like getting licenses and jurisdictions and stuff to make sure that we're doing this legally. But what we can do is we can do a lot of fun stuff, which like I'm alluding to now, but like will be announced like in the coming weeks, where just because it's testnet money, like doesn't mean that it's always going to be testnet winners.
Okay, interesting. That makes a lot of sense. I was also looking at your platform right now in the beta. I didn't, and maybe I'm not looking in the right places. I didn't see any like sports markets. Obviously, the World Cup's live right now. There's a lot of people using this as like a push. I know Kalshi's got some big money on. I mean, there's just a lot of people you like building around it. Are you guys going to have any World Cup stuff? When do the sports get tied into this?
So that's essentially 100% of what our time is now behind the scenes. You will see sports within the next couple weeks. We have something coming for the World Cup. That's all I can say now, but you will see sports be a very, very big part of Pumpcade in the next couple weeks.
Do you think that's the end goal? Maybe talk me through the end goal. You mentioned raising, further rounds, growing us. Obviously, you want this to become a behemoth, compete with, beat out Kalshi and Polymarket at some stage. So maybe talk me through the end goal, how you get from this point to that point. Obviously, we're about to go into the product launching live. That's going to be a big moment for you guys. Maybe just walk me through your thinking and how you go from 1 to 100 here.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that sports are going to be a really, really big part of Pumpcade. A lot of people have been asking us and like begging like sports. And like, the more we looked at like the protocol early on and like the market dynamics and the way that we build everything kind of made us realize like sports is fucking perfect for the Pumpcade protocol. Like these peer-to-peer pari-mutuel markets that are as short as a minute, like because our markets work so quickly and because our tech is built like intentional for that, like we can offer sports markets that you don't see anywhere. Like we're going to have markets where it's like, what quadrant of the field, like in soccer, is like the ball going to be on in the next minute, or like how many balls like are going to be pitched like in this area in the next like 5 minutes, or like obviously the average one's like home run in the next couple minutes. But like because our data is so granular and our tech is optimized to resolve things quickly, like we kind of want to build like a sports betting like product within Pumpcade where it is different than what you see, because a typical sports betting product, you're going to go on there, you see the money line, you see 100 different props, like, and just someone who doesn't really know a lot about sports might be deterred from that. But on Pumpcade, you can go on the platform, click one of the 20 MLB games that's live right now, and it's like, will there be a home run in the next minute, or like how many pitches in the next 5 minutes? And it's like, you don't really need to understand a lot about the sport to be able to do that. And the most interesting thing about Pumpcade is because the markets resolve so quickly, you can go on our platform, you can deposit with your debit card, and in 1 minute, you know the entire gameplay loop of Pumpcade. You can deposit, you can enter a market, you can see it resolve, and boom, did I win or lose? So we can show you the entire platform in as little as 1 minute, which I think a lot of these other platforms can't do. Specifically, like, let's just use like Polymarket or Kalshi, for example. Someone goes on there, they deposit, and they might put money on like what is the most prominent market, the most volume, whatever, which is probably going to be the 2028 election. You're going to put money on that, and boom, now you wait 2 years to see what happens. Versus Pumpcade, the whole thing is like engineered to be speed, and like we know like the user psyche of like a user that wants something fast, and we can show them the entire gameplay loop really, really quickly. So it's like you have that dopamine flowing where it's like almost more fun than trading meme coins, because these have predefined endings. Like you're not going to buy a meme coin and wait, and you don't know when to sell it. With Pumpcade, you enter a market, 1 minute later it's done. You know whether you won or lost.
Yeah, I guess on this note as well, Solana doesn't really have a native prediction market. And this one's like vastly different from the other ones we talked about, like Kalshi and Polymarket. Can you maybe walk me through why you chose to build on top of Solana and what this enables you to do, I guess, over maybe some of the other chains?
Yeah, I mean, so like for people who knew me like before Pumpcade, I was a protocol engineer in like the Ethereum ecosystem for like 7 or 8 years. This is the first time I've ever done something on Solana. And, I obviously deployed the token on Pump Fund, which is on Solana, but that didn't mean I had to build a product on Solana. I think the developer tooling of Solana got really good. The network is in a really good state now where you can just, very reliably land transactions, the speed of the network. But one of the biggest things, honestly, is the support from like companies and investors and advisors, and like the Solana Foundation is second to none. Like I had never I was building on ETH for 8 years. Never once did someone from the fucking Ethereum Foundation reach out to me. And I had a meeting with the Solana Foundation yesterday and Monday and Friday. Like these people want to help you. And like you've seen people from the Solana Foundation have tweeted about Pumpcade. We've given them some alpha and stuff like that. But I wouldn't have said this 2 years ago. I was actually a pretty outspoken critic publicly on Twitter about Solana, but things have really changed. And I really think that the only place to build a consumer application right now is on Solana.
And that's what it comes down to. It seems like all the best consumer apps are coming to Solana. I mean, look at Collector Crypt. Shout out Collector Crypt, sponsor of the show here. I mean, really, it seems like that's where the convergence is happening for consumer crypto. It doesn't look like it's going to happen on Base. It doesn't look like it's going to happen on Ethereum mainnet or Binance. It's all coming to Solana. So it's interesting. You know, when you think about Solana and tapping into that, obviously this being your first distribution layer, how much of, I guess, your user base do you think is going to be mainly Solana native, or maybe crypto native versus traditional market? Because we see a huge gambling culture, I think, emerging right now. And that's going to tie into my next question a little bit as well. But like, where does the user breakdown kind of, what does that look like? Where does it happen?
So I think very early on, it's going to be pretty much 100% crypto users. But as we expand out more, like go to market, like efforts and stuff outside of crypto, my goal would be 99% of users don't even know that the application is crypto. Like I want people to use Pumpcade, make money on it, have fun, and then like a year from now be like, wait, this is built on crypto. And like my CTO tweeted about it, I think yesterday, but like he was like, I think that Pumpcade has the opportunity to be this app that goes outside of crypto. In like, you can leverage crypto for the correct things. Like we're using crypto for the markets, for transparency, so people can see how things are resolved, but you don't need to make the product forward facing crypto. And that's why we're going to have fiat deposits and stuff like that. We're going to show everything in dollar values. And like crypto, like as much as we want like a mainstream crypto app that is crypto publicly forward facing and stuff like that, most people kind of think crypto is like a cancer, especially from like when all the celebrities were doing stuff in like 2020, 2021, turned a lot of people off from crypto. So you don't really need like your entire app to be crypto. You can leverage crypto in the right places and then, you know, appeal to Web2 users.
How do we change that, right? Because I think you're right. A lot of people view crypto as this cancer. We are starting to see a bit of a discrepancy, though, where people are taking the blockchain technology, and I think it's kind of diverging from the crypto connotation, where it's like, okay, wow, blockchain is actually super valuable here with Hyperliquid, here with stable coins, and some of the things it's enabling, you know, instant finality, enabling what you guys are building here, versus like crypto coins sometimes being scammy and like the industry feeling shady in general. Like, I guess what sets us over that edge to where public and mainstream people start looking at this more, I guess, in a better light?
I really think that it is like kind of what I spoke about recently. And it's like, we do need to have like crypto apps that aren't screaming in your face, this is crypto, go super viral and mainstream. And like, we're seeing that really, really well with Polymarket. Like, I bet a lot of people that use Polymarket don't even know that it's a crypto app, which like, that's ideal. And like, that's like something that we want for our platform. But like, ultimately, you do have to look at like what have been the most popular apps in crypto. Like it's Pump Fun, it's meme coins. Like it doesn't help like the public perception that like the thing that gets the most product market fit and the thing that generates the most revenue is generally like quote unquote gambling, casino, like slop, meme coin stuff like that. So I don't really see it as a bad thing. I just think that as like a builder and as a founder, I want to build my app to just leverage crypto in the correct places and not have it in a way where it's going to deter people away from it.
Great answer. And Jill, feel free to jump in whenever you want. I got 2 questions from the community right now, and we can start heading towards a bit more wrap up here. But Crypto Jones says, what, in your opinion, is the biggest unlock that Pumpcade can offer users?
Yeah, so great question. It is 100% instant market resolution. Like you're not seeing that on every single market on these other platforms. Like just look at how much money was in the micro strategy market and how many people got fucked over by that. And like when we're building markets that are really fast, like when you're trading quickly, the most important thing is speed. And like Pumpcade doesn't even require you to claim your winnings. Like they're auto claimed back to you. So you always know like exactly when the market ends. Did I win? Did I lose? And you get your money back to you. And then because markets are instantly verified and resolved, you have the peace of mind knowing that like you're not going to run into one of those cases where like the rules change or like someone sent like an incorrect resolution. Like Pumpcade gives you the peace of mind that when you put your money on the line, like when you're backing your opinion on an outcome with money, you know it's going to be resolved correctly.
Yeah, maybe talk me through this a little bit more. You guys have this instant market resolution, which seems like it's a big selling point. Takes away a bit of the nuance, like we saw, for example, the MicroStrategy thing. There was the big controversy over, is Michael Saylor going to sell Bitcoin before this time? He obviously did. It for some reason resolved that he didn't. I think because there was no public announcement or something, whatever it might be, and there was a ton of rage about that. How do you guys escape the nuance there? Maybe when you're doing one of these markets, and like you said, there's 4 quadrants of the soccer field and the ball's right on the middle line. How do you guys get it right every time?
So it really comes down to the types of markets that we were able to offer. Like we just simply won't offer a market that we can't instantly resolve with data. So like back to like the soccer thing or whatever, we have the exact XY coordinates. Like the ball will lean in one side of it. Like we have the XY coordinates of like where a ball is at any given time. For these other markets, it's very objective. It's not subjective. Like it's, will the price of this go up or down? It resolves to yes if it's strictly higher. Like it can't be equal. A lot of these sports markets and stuff, we have the data as quickly as it comes in. We use Sport Radar for our data. They're directly partnered with every single league that they provide data from, but it really boils down to the guardrails. And like, yes, Pumpcade might not be as fun for people that only want to trade mention markets because we don't have mention markets, but like to us, that's the type of market that can be unilaterally manipulated by the party that the market is about and stuff like that. But the guardrails that we have just mean that it's a safer experience. And if you think about how many things have an API and that we can resolve, like it really is almost infinite possibilities. Like there's an API to tell you what percentage of the McDonald's machines in the US are currently broken. Like that should show you that like we can do crazy markets if we want, but just we're only going to ever offer markets that are instantly resolved for the sake of the users.
Could this system be gamed or arbitrage in a sense? Let's say someone has access to that API for the McDonald's and they know, 100 McDonald's ice cream machines are out. Is there a way that they could at the last minute put in a bet and arbitrage it? I mean, I guess that's part of kind of what the system has to offer, but maybe talk me through that.
Yeah, so we would get the data at the exact same time, but if they wanted to like use a bot and put it in like 0.1 seconds or whatever before, that's where our congestion fees come into play as part of our parimutuel Pumpcade protocol. Basically, the way that congestion fees work is, with Polymarket, when you, or like a traditional cloud prediction market, if the odds are at 10% and you buy, you're locked at 10%. So your upside is going to be the diff between 100 and 10, which is 90. With parimutuel, the odds are continuously changing. The payout continuously changes as the pool moves. Just for like a quick explainer, parimutuel is basically what you use for horse betting. All bids go into the same pool. The winning side takes the entire pool, distributed pro rata, less fees. We have stuff like built on top of this, which is the congestion fees. So let's say you have a 60-second market and it's, will Bitcoin go up or down? And Bitcoin randomly candles up like $10,000 and there's 5 seconds left. Like Bitcoin's probably not going to go down. The outcome is more known. Like, yeah, it's going to resolve to yes. The more stacked one side gets, like if the yes side stacks more, we apply a congestion fee, which is on a curve. So the later you are into a market and the more known it is, we apply a fee. So you can't come in and put $1 million in and take the entire pool. You're going to hit with the congestion fee. And then the cool thing is the congestion fee doesn't go to us as revenue. We don't book it as revenue. It's booked as stuff that we can use to further the platform, give out leaderboard rewards, retroactively reward users that were early to providing like liquidity on both sides of markets, like all of that stuff.
Can I ask about the API access and kind of white labeling this product? I mean, we go back to the consumer apps building on Solana. I take Collector Crypt, one I'm very, I guess, passionate and bullish on. And I think their white label's done very well. We see all these people building on top of Collector Crypt. And I think that's where a lot of users come from. And so I think, in my opinion, they've kind of taken a back seat on UI gamification and let everyone else building on top of their API do that part. How are you guys thinking about API access and people maybe building on top of the Pumpcade platform?
Yeah, everything on Pumpcade is built to be white labeled, built to be programmatically accessed, like placing predictions and stuff like that, creating markets, resolving markets. We're going to have builder codes and stuff where like we're going to put out like tweets and it's like, these are things we want people to build on Pumpcade, whether it's a Telegram bot, like stuff like that. And we can reward you and give you a builder code as well. But I think the biggest thing that I would like to see people use from Pumpcade is our resolution engine, because there's nobody in our industry that can resolve a market as quickly and as accurately as Pumpcade for the things that we offer. And I would love to see other prediction markets come to us and say, hey, we want to move this subset of our markets to be resolved by Pumpcade, and we will like welcome you with open arms.
Do you expect this to be a big driver of volumes through your platform? And like, what's your BD strategy on that side? Are you just going to let people come to you, or are you going to go
we've had a lot of people already come to us. Like, we've already had conversations. I can't say like with who, but there are people that are taking note of like the way that we're building our resolution engine and like how strong our tech is. And I think that a lot of people will be using Pumpcade to resolve their markets.
Got you. We do have to kind of close this off here, but do me a favor as we wrap up, give me an idea on timelines. You got a lot coming out. We got team members we're talking about, partnerships that you're hinting at, obviously the full access to this World Cup. What are some timelines? What does the roadmap look like? Give something for the people to chew on here.
Yeah, so I think within the next week, we're going to have a really, really big announcement, probably one of our biggest announcements yet. And it's going to be like related to like the World Cup and stuff like that. And you will see that live early next month, like the actual like product part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been building in private for a little bit, and it's very intentional. And yeah, we're going to be dropping a ton on people in the next couple of weeks.
What's the call to action then? People should lock in. What's the word on that?
Just turn on tweet notifications for the Pumpcade account. We're not going to like surprise drop anything and be like, it's live now. Like, we really want to build like education around like the stuff that's being released, because we are building something that's very, very new and people really haven't seen before. So just honestly stay up to date on socials and just like, yeah, just sit and wait.
What does your ref program look like? Are you guys going to roll out a ref program?
Yeah, so we will have a referral program. It's not going to be live until we are live on mainnet. But yeah, I mean, you'll be incentivized, obviously, to refer your friends. And the cool thing about the token already existing is we don't have people farming airdrops. Our revenue is going to be booked in USD. Anything we give back to users, we want to give back to USD. The biggest issue I've seen with all these protocols, just to like quickly go down this, is like they give out the token for everything. All they're doing is manufacture and sell pressure. People just want to farm it and dump it. And that's not our ethos.
Okay. We got to wrap. I want to ask about this Rasmer situation. Rasmer came out and just pushed a hate train on you for no reason. Was he just like engagement farming? Do you know anything about that? I don't think you engaged.
Yeah, he was engagement farming. People were posting that like he lost money trading Pumpcade. We became like the center of PT with 2 back-to-back raises and ace. And I guess he was upset.
he definitely got mogged there on that though, because the price just continued to go up as he was being bearish the whole time. Funny situation though. Crypto Jones, last question here. We're going to let you go, Pop. What makes you most excited? What are you most excited to see on your platform?
Definitely sports markets, like because of the data. Like I've said this multiple times, but it's like because of the access to the data and because of how our protocol and resolution engine works, we can offer sports markets that are really, really appealing even to people that don't know anything about sports. And I think that's going to be interesting to like for us to churn out ads on TikTok and Instagram and bring in users that have never sports bet before and bring them to a platform where they see it and it's approachable and they're like, oh, this is cool. I can do this. Like, I don't need to know all of these numbers and odds and stuff like that. So definitely sports markets are the most exciting for me.
There we go. Pop Punk. We appreciate you coming on. It's always an exciting conversation. This is one of the most exciting projects, I think, being built right now on Solana. Just in crypto in general, I think there's a bright future for it. It's nice to see a unique angle on these prediction markets. I think you and your team seem to have the resourcing and ability to make this come to life. So it's always a pleasure.
Thanks so much. And yeah, I mean, we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Lots to talk about. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks, Pop. Awesome interview, bro. Takeaways?
You can go give some takeaways because I was kind of just bum rushing the mic there.
Yeah, no, you were definitely cooking. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway for me was, look, you know, their biggest moat is instant resolution. And the fact that you can then, like he mentioned that they had API access, like they're white labeling that. And so now others will be able to build on top of it. And I think it just kind of creates that same situation as it did for cards. But I mean, look, the metrics, the investment, who's on their team. I think if you didn't catch that whole interview, definitely run that back. But who's on their team, who's invested? I think these are really big players that because he mentioned that there's people that can connect them to, agents of sports players and athletes and all these things. So they have the distribution, they have the moat from a technological standpoint, and they have the team that's, obviously competent and able to push this forward in a meaningful direction. So, man,
I agree with you.
What a project.
Here's how I see the timeline happening. I see this full release of the platform goes live on mainnet. I see Pump Fund doing a lot of legwork for distribution. I think they have a lot of crypto angles, crypto strings they can pull at. I think they really use that to get volumes up, and then they take it to that Web2 audience, which seems to be like their main focus. Again, going to those agents, casinos, people that they already have those relationships with, and really pulling on those strings as well. So they do have a lot of bases covered. It's an exciting one, nonetheless. Really great conversation, guys. We want to respect Pablo's time, who's been waiting now for 5 minutes in the back. So we definitely want to pull him up. Exciting one here. We talk about robotics a lot on this channel. I foresee in the next 6 months to 2 years, a pretty massive wave in robotics. I mean, I think AI is kind of at that point where the autonomy can really happen for robotics. Pablo built something really cool. He built Pemba, which is a robot that scaled 20,000 feet up a mountain. He went viral on Twitter for this. It was a super cool video. Man, we're just going to pick his brain, really see what Pemba is, see what he's building. He's got a token as well. And, get an idea of the future of robotics. Really cool conversation coming up right now, guys. So without further ado, Pablo, welcome to the show.
Yo, what up? How are we doing?
Good. We just had a great interview, so we're excited to jump into it with you guys. Like I said before you joined, robotics are something we're super excited about. It seems like inevitably it's going to be here in the future. And, we want to talk to people positioning around that. You obviously being one of those people. Do us a favor. Give us a little bit of background on yourself so we can get to know you. The audience can get to know you. And then we'll just jump into Pemba and what's going on that end.
Yeah. So my name is Pablo. It's nice to meet you guys. Thanks for having me on. I dropped out of the best engineering school in France about a year ago to go straight to the Congo jungle to basically set up infrastructure so that you can use Starlink and AI to live stream content from the middle of nowhere. We got there. We were streaming monkeys from the middle of nowhere. We realized there was other use cases. We jumped to the Amazon, the Himalayas, went to basically the most remote places on Earth and provided them infrastructure to monitor research and media. Then I started to see that a lot of the problems that I was solving in energy efficiency, live communication, are all problems robotics is having the moment a robot steps out of a building. When it steps out of a building and Wi-Fi is not really good, electricity is not really good, it was sort of encountering the similar issues. But that was a much bigger market, a much better industry, and a problem that was really interesting to focus on. And so we started working towards that, and we were like, okay, we need to make a big first impression. What's the craziest place we can think of? And what's the craziest robot we can think of? So we thought the craziest place we thought of was Everest, and we had some partners that we had established there in Nepal, so we thought it would be a great idea. And the greatest robot that we could think of was the Unitree G1, which is the most commercially available robot currently out there, with the humanoid making big impressions when it's like kicking kids, or it's making backflips, or it's doing kung fu, a bunch of this stuff. And so basically, we started this project. We did our proof of concept about 2 weeks ago at the closest point to space at about 20,000 feet down in Ecuador. And now we're back in SF, busy building towards the goal of essentially bringing robots outside.
This is a pretty crazy story here. I really like how your background tied perfectly into like, oh my gosh, we see this problem and we have a solution. And by the way, I've been building in this front already. And now like this has opened up a massive total addressable market that I wasn't even really thinking about, but it just makes so much sense. Could you maybe talk me through a bit more of that market? Why is it important that we tap into, places that don't have connection? You're using like Starlink. Maybe just give me a better, fuller picture on what that looks like and why this is important, what the problem is here.
The problem is very simple. 97% of the Earth's surface is just like right now unreachable by robots. And what I mean by that is just it's incapable of reliably walking and carrying out work in most places that is not completely flat and where power is directly accessible, right? And so you have massive issues in regards to in three categories: in live communication, in energy efficiency, and in overall mobility. In energy efficiency, essentially like a battery right now for a robot lasts 2 hours. And what you need to figure out is how do you reliably have it carry out some work and have its batteries be replaced. There's no one solution for robotics right now. People are testing out like chargers. They're testing out putting 2 batteries and swapping one of them at a time and going out. Point of the matter right now is you need a human. You need a human to be there every 2 hours to swap the batteries and get this thing going. What I envision in the future is you have some form of solar energy that can be harvested, wind energy that can be harvested, longer batteries, to be able for a robot to reliably work its way towards doing more and more hours. Second issue you're having is live communication. Starlink right now has basically solved that, where you can have Netflix streaming level internet like anywhere. And next year, we're going to see a massive rollout for robotics where the satellites are going to be directly accessible to phones. You're going to be able to directly tap in from a SIM card, which means that you don't need a huge router which can fit directly into a robot. There you have some issues with orchestration, being able to like really have the Wi-Fi work reliably, even when sometimes it's changing satellites and it's stopping. And finally, mobility, right? A robot walking anywhere. Right now, the basic solution we're seeing is just like with ChatGPT, the bigger the model, the better it is, the better it can carry out some work. And so what basically happens there is we're working on having most of the brain happen in the cloud. So it can directly tap into data centers and it can have access to better models and be able to walk better in certain places. This is a small level overview of the problems that are important to tackle for robots to be deployed everywhere.
Interesting. So when I usually think about, robotics, or at least when we've talked about it on the show or when I've seen it on the timeline, I've seen it more so from a warehouse perspective. There's a robot in an Amazon warehouse or something like that, and they're lifting boxes. They're doing these just kind of arbitrary tasks. What's the use case for outdoors robotics? Like, give us an idea of what could be done, with robots outside and who's even looking to use them outside.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think basically you have 3 main categories. You have mining, you have transport, and you have overall like emergency response. Obviously, there's the idea of robots finally colonizing space, and they're the ones that are going to go to the planets first and set the terrain for us to be able to go further. So essentially like multiplanetary colonization in the future. But right now, the concrete industries that we're looking at is mining, transport, and emergency response. If we look at Everest, where we're operating right now, the idea is for these robots to carry a lot of the loads from camp to camp that are perhaps too heavy, that have some resources that are really difficult. A lot of people are paying a lot of money for that. You're seeing that mainly with autonomous trucks, autonomous cars, and at the end of the day, these autonomous cars are just bigger robots, right? On the mining level, there's particular areas in the world that are really dangerous for humans. And essentially, there's some work needs to be carried out there, and it'll be much more safer if a robot is able to do this, because a human life will always be more important than the robot life. And so anything that you can think of where there's like a natural disaster happening and you need some immediate response, the idea is to have robots be deployed there so that it's much more safe for the team that's operating.
Maybe I could ask a bit more question about the total addressable market here in the TAM. You're tapping into a few different facets here for robotics. And it's interesting. I haven't really seen many people, I think, iterate in this front. So maybe even before I tap into the total addressable market here, who's trying to tackle this outside of you guys? Is there a lot of competition here? Or are you guys pretty much the only player?
Yeah, so what you have to understand is we're so early. We're so early because robots are having difficulties in the warehouse, like Chill said. So if they're having difficulty in the warehouse, it's going to take a while before they can be out there in nature. So not a lot of people are tackling this. What you're seeing is different problems are being solved by different companies, right? There's so many things to do, and there's only very little things to focus on. The main player, I'd say, is Armada AI. Basically, what they do is they provide micro data centers and just overall compute in these very remote places. You're having them, for example, deploy either backpack-sized mini computers so that you're able to carry out some work in these remote places, or container levels that they just drop. And they provide that sort of edge infrastructure for then the ability to carry out all forms of robot deployment or live streaming or just sensor analysis on the field. Their main biggest customers at the end of the day is defense, right? There's a lot to be done about surveillance, inspection, trying to understand what's happening out there in the field for the soldiers. That's definitely what can be done right now. But you're also seeing players on the software level really helping and doing that infrastructure analysis live in the field, right? And so you can think about, like I said, connecting remote devices that are on the field with data centers so that you have access to much better calculations and computes, live streaming content, and providing that whole infrastructure for that. So there's tiny problems that we can go solving, but no one is really tapping into robots for outside deployment as a whole.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. Robots for outside deployment and like the private defense sector here, I think has been, very interesting. A lot of people, I think, strive to get these government contracts. Obviously, with the emergence of drones in Iran, this has been the biggest, I think, innovation in war that we've seen in a very long time. I guess when you look at this, kind of, what's your goal there? Are you looking to really just entertain the private defense sector, get government contracts? I guess who's your main target audience here when you think about these products?
So I think that's a great question again. If you want a sustainable business in a technology that's not ready yet, the defense industry in the US is really great for that, because here we have the ability to have such a big addressable market with the inventions of things like primes that enable and basic contracts that basically enable defense contractors who have technology that the US military is not ready to use yet be able to survive long enough, right? It's the only industry in the world where they're like, okay, your technology has a use case, we're just not there yet, and so we're going to give you some money so that you're able to survive till the time that we're ready, right? So we have, I think it's a really big priority that the West competes with China on this new industry that is robotics, on this whole reindustrialization process that we're seeing down in El Segundo in LA. I think it's really great to be a part of that, and we definitely want to be a part of that, because also it really helps us in being able to further development up until robots are finally ready to step outside, which we're still 4 or 5 years away minimum.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of money pouring into this. I think even recently we saw the Trump family and maybe even the United States make an investment in Anduril, or one of these defense companies. I mean, it's pretty crazy to see this stuff really come to life. Would you guys say that's your main focus right now is, the private defense sector?
Yes, definitely. We have a contract lined up with the government of Ecuador, where we're basically going to deploy some drones and some robodogs associated to our technology to be able to fight narcos in the Amazon, which is going to be quite fun. It's a great test bed for a lot of the technology, and we hope that after that we can consider like a bigger contract with the U.S. military directly.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Insane.
Are you going to be like, do these things have cameras on them? You probably couldn't live stream that legally, but I know you guys are all like set for virality, doing the whole scaling the mountains. Your videos and quality are very, very good. I mean, that's a super cool use case and a super compelling story. Are there going to be cameras on there? Are we going to see some cool content from this, like Narcos?
Yeah, so essentially where the whole idea came from at the end of the day is that these cameras, the cameras that we were setting up in Congo in the Amazon, they were static, right? And the calculation here is that if you want to cover the whole Amazon, which is about 2 million acres of land, you need about 200 million cameras. 200 million cameras. And if all of them are set up, you can fully live stream the Amazon from every single possible angle. That is just unrealistic, right? And so fundamentally, the only way to reduce that quantity is if those numbers move, because the subjects that you're trying to target, whether that's humans or animals in the Amazon, like they move all the time. So if you could have cameras that move with them, you work better and you could have less of these cameras. That's a robot, right? So the reason for robots in these places, I mean, we're still far ahead from guns and warfare. And I do hope we can delay that process a little bit. But essentially, our main use case right now is just like video input. It's inspection work, it's surveillance work that happens in these places. So that we're going to have footage all the time, right? And we solve this problem. We're the company that solved this problem of live streaming content from these places. So we can potentially jump on the stream and have one of these robodogs jump on the stream live. Like that's definitely something we can do.
We need to
We'd
make
love
that
to
happen.
set that up. Yep.
That would be sick. It's funny. Everything you're saying kind of makes me think about, we have friends at Impulsor, and they're really innovating on the contactless power transfer side, right? So you mentioned, lots of these things need new batteries every 2 hours. Batteries die very quick. And they recently as well pivoted to the private defense sector to kind of innovate on this powerless, wireless, powerless energy transfer. I guess when you look at the future of robotics, how do you foresee this happening? Do you foresee energy being transferred wirelessly through a laser beam or through they have magnetic resonance and all this kind of high technical stuff? How do you see that playing out, I guess, in the future when you look at robotics and how these things can function for long periods of times in remote places?
Yeah, there's so many cool technologies trying to be set up for this. I think the number one problem when you're operating is just like the more energy you have available, the more shit you can do. And people are trying to tackle that in different ways. Personally, for me, I'm very bearish on technology when it comes to that. I really think practical solutions are going to be the way to go. And what I mean by that is what we built with those computers that run off Starlink and solar panels is essentially docking stations that can be scattered across a particular remote place where people can just come and tap into, and robots can eventually draw some energy out of there. So essentially the same way you have like a bird's nest, and that bird's nest has some solar panels and it's absorbing battery like constantly. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have just a million of those docking stations where, depending on where you are and depending on how long your battery you have left, you'll identify already the docking station that you're going to go into, recharge from there, and then go out of there. And there, what you're going to have is perhaps some magnetic induction, because that means that you don't need a cable. You just land and then directly you connect like your phone has with the MagSafe charger. Or you're potentially going to have some form of very easy wiring. We're already seeing that in the 1X robot that's slated for homes end of 2026, early 2027, where it has a wiring cable attached to a wall that it itself will go and just pick up and charge, right? And so I think solution is going to be some form of docking, but I don't believe it'll be some very fancy work like a laser pointing at the drone and charging it from a distance, which some good friends of mine are working on that. I'm personally not a believer, but I'll fully support them and their technology.
Very interesting. Then maybe do me a favor and kind of walk me through the TAM here. Because again, we talked about these different facets that you're tapping into. So I'm trying to get a fuller picture of, I guess, like the market specifically that you're trying to tap, or markets plural. So maybe walk me through like, what is the total addressable market here in your eyes? Again, very early, so maybe hard to say, but curious to get your thoughts.
Yeah, so we've mentioned various different industries. I think right now it's just mainly focusing on private defense contracts, and mainly around like Western countries. That includes South America, that includes Europe. But our main focus fundamentally is serving the US and the US interests. So right now we're doing our I think the TAM here, if you want to put a number, I think you're looking at approximately 2 billion that are being poured in remote infrastructure, specifically around potential robot deployments. But that number is gonna dramatically like increase. It could potentially be like $1 trillion industry, because anything at this point, you're already seeing it in Ukraine. Most soldiers are being replaced by drones, right? And when you can have like robots that can walk on itself, all land soldiers will be replaced by robots. And essentially what's going to happen in the future, war is just going to be fought by machines. Yeah. And we humans are just going to be in the control center. So we're hyper focused on that. Our work on Everest shows that we can deliver in very like dangerous zones. And our work in Ecuador is gonna show really our first use case with the government. And so from there, the goal is to secure one of those big US contracts that we can, so we can serve the US interests directly. From that point on, like the long-term vision for this is space, is multiplanetary colonization. We think, the current infrastructure work that's being done is really poor when it comes to that people are not really thinking about how to practically send these robots to Mars. People are just like excited by this idea. And so we're really thinking already about that and how to best scale to that long-term vision.
Two questions that come from this. I guess one's going to be around SpaceX. You keep talking about Starlink. What are your thoughts on SpaceX? Are you generally bullish? Of course, we know Elon's trying to put data centers up in space, harvest some of the sun's energy, and there's so much to it. It's almost very hard to comprehend. It seems like you've kind of done a lot of that thinking. Are you bullish on SpaceX? Bullish on Starlink? Give me your general thoughts there. The people want to know.
I mean, SpaceX is the greatest thing that's ever happened to humanity. It's the Dutch East India Company of the 21st century. Like, there's no debate about that, right? I've been a major proponent of Starlink. Starlink is the reason why I'm doing all of this, and it's a technology that has been available for the past 2 years, and ever since then we've been live as a company, right? So I think obviously this is our main competitor. It's also our biggest source of admiration in terms of what exists today, whether that's their humanoids, whether that's their Starlink technology. We want to beat them, but we're also very respectful of everything they've built. They're the reason why we can even fathom these sort of ideas. So yeah, super bullish on SpaceX. We'll always be very bullish on SpaceX. I don't know if the current price, is reflective of its true value right now, but I will hold my shares forever. I can promise you that.
Interesting. Yeah, we see this trading over 100x price to earnings to the company right now, which is obviously insane. People either believe in Elon a lot, maybe it's just the low float, whatever it is. Do you think the revenues are going to meaningfully catch up to that premium that people are placing on this stock right now?
I think it's going to drop. I think it's going to plummet massively. We've seen this happen with Tesla before. Elon is just really a great hype man and is great at hyping and stuff. I think the main use case right now was buying Cursor, which just got officialized yesterday at 2.5% of their revenue and all stock compensation. Like, that for me was just the move. But now that that's done, we're going to see the hype die down a little bit. Price is going to drop. But like I said, I'm holding my shares forever. So I have some shares right now. They're trading super high. I know it's going to drop, but I'm not selling because I know that it's going to go back up. SpaceX is not a 5-year company. It's not a 10-year company. It's a 40-year company when you're going to retire and you're like, okay, that's the alternative to my Roth IRA,
There you go. That's conviction right there. The alternative to your Roth IRA. Man, I give you credit though. Again, kind of piggybacking off what you were talking about earlier, one of the goals is securing one of those big U.S. contracts. Obviously, you have one with Ecuador right now. Maybe give me some insight on who are the people you're talking to right now. Do you have any of those conversations ongoing at the moment, or more so just something you're working towards?
I mean, we have conversations existing. I'm not going to speak on that because it's a bit of a sensitive topic. But what I can say is we're head down making that Ecuador deployment happen so we can really prove our technology and an existing relationship with the government and use that as a proof of concept for any conversations we're having right now.
Got you. Like you mentioned earlier as well, a lot of these need to be supported for a couple of years before it actually comes to fruition and this technology is actually useful and needed. I want to get a better idea of your funding. How does your funding look like? Have you guys raised any funding? Have you guys done any rounds? Are you looking for future funding? Maybe just give me a better insight into that.
Yeah, that's a great question. We're piggybacking off the token. I think Virtual was such a great sponsor for us, and the token has been so useful in really bootstrapping this whole project. Our Everest expedition enables us to have access to sponsors and a great amount of sponsorships that we can use then for other projects that are not related necessarily to the Everest project. And so we haven't accepted any sort of institutional investment yet. We are having conversations and we will raise a round, but we're really waiting for that inflection point, which I think will be once we deliver that value to the government of Ecuador and we're able to prove like, hey, that technology, it's not quite there yet, but there's already some stuff we can do and that can serve the West's interests. So we've proven that. Let's go around and raise a round. And we'll probably aim for that around September, October.
Got you. Are you guys profitable yet or still kind of trying to get to that profitability point?
Well, I mean, we are running on our own money. So, so I wouldn't say we're profitable. We do benefit from that contract and all expenses are paid by that contract. But I don't think we're going to be profitable for a while.
Yeah, I mean that's the nature of a lot of this stuff. Chill, did I just hear you try to jump in?
Yeah, I guess some details I wanted on the your work with the government there. I believe it was Ecuador you mentioned. When does that happen? When does that all start? And specifically, what are you guys looking to accomplish for them that would kind of allow you to be this proof of concept moment for you?
Yeah. So conversation started in around February, March, when we were first in Ecuador, right before Nepal, and then after Nepal, we went and did our Ecuador deployment there for Pemba. As a result of that, we held various conversations, and essentially, it's a debt financing contract. The U.S. pays a lot of money to Ecuador for preserving the Amazon, and they use that money then to help further technology in the Amazon. And so we sort of jumped on that contract. You get 20% of it within the first few weeks, and then 80% of it when the contract officially starts, which is due in October. It's a $500,000 contract. What we aim to do with that is have 25 of these like mini computers that run off Starlink and solar panels scattered across around a particular village, indigenous village we're working with. And essentially what we have there is from that village, we'll have 10 robodogs and 10 drones be able to enter the Amazon, reliably be able to charge themselves using the different docks, be able to carry out some inspection work and get some video analysis footage going for both animals and humans, and be able to make its way back to the village. And if we're able to prove that, then we're able to prove inspection work in a very tough terrain, including live communication using those little computers and some charging on its own using those computers. So if we're able to prove that, man, are we have we made some
awesome.
developments in the robotic space?
That'd be awesome.
Wow, yeah. Go ahead, Dom. I know you had one.
Maybe I want to touch on the team a little bit. Who's working on this? Pablo, obviously we got you. I think you're kind of front and center here in a lot of these videos that have gone viral. Maybe just give me some more insight into who you're working with on this.
Yeah, so I have a great co-founder that's leading all the operations on site. Her name is Titania. We went to university together. She's a zoologist by background, actually. So she has a really great experience with conversing with all the different indigenous communities, right? When we were in Nepal or we were in Ecuador, like it's really important to have those relationships and be able to navigate those spaces. Also, these are usually animal protected zones, so you need to have a good understanding of the laws in and around the technology that you want to deploy. You can imagine the face of an animal when it sees a robodog for the first time and it's not able to detect any smell. So having her is a really great asset. We have an engineer who's working full time, who's really great, Cambridge master graduate in information engineering, a real professional when it comes to really developing that software. Hardware is mainly outsourced for now. We want to build our own robots, but we think the fastest way to really get this work going is to use somebody else's robots. And then we have some other supporting actors like photographers, videographers that have supported us. We have a production team for Ecuador. We have a production team for Nepal. Nice. We have a production team for the US. And that's sort of what the team scope looks like right now.
Nice. Who's leading a lot of these conversations, with the government bodies and that sort of stuff, doing a lot of like the BD work?
You want our little secret? No, there will be one thing that I'll say. One of my mentors down here, one of the first things he told me is like, any form of government conversations, you need to find someone on the inside or a lobbyist to take care of you. Because there's such a very distinct way of doing sales to the government or having conversations with the government, and having someone who knows makes all the difference. So the first thing we did, whether that's when Nepal, when trying to get laws going for Everest, in Ecuador, when trying to get that contract going, or in the US, we have either a lobbyist or a person we know that's on the committee that can really help us guide those conversations. They usually get 10 to 15% of the contract sale, but that's been the most effective way to be able to really get those conversations going.
Interesting. You were mentioning space earlier. I think I want to kind of take us back and get your grand vision here. You know, this is something that takes time. I think we're a little bit out from robotics. I do think we have a massive robotics surgence in the future where just it really blows up. I think it's kind of clear to see at this point. But maybe walk me through your grand vision on where you see us in 5, 10, 15 years. I know it's hard to even look that far out with how fast technology is moving, but I don't know, maybe just give us something here to, I guess, get behind.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think fundamentally the inspiration between everything we do here for Pemba or for the future of the company is just this idea that humans are not going to be the ones to colonize the world, all their planets. There is just no need to send a human when you can send a robot device. I mean, rovers have been going to Mars for years and years and years to then carry out the work and prepare everything for humans. And it's just the human life will probably not enter Mars for another 30 years because you really need to set the terrain before any of that happens. And so really our vision here is any infrastructure we build for quote unquote remote places on Earth are meant to be replicated on other planets. And a really long-term vision for this company is for robot colonization of other planets. In terms of what the timeline looks like, we're trying to get a moon base by 2030, right? That's signed by NASA, that's a done deal. Like these guys are working towards this and we're gonna see this, right? We're seeing this with various Artemis missions. We are gonna have some form, we wanna have one of our robots be part of that moon base within the next 10 years. That's the goal here. If we do that, that means we have had conversations with the space industry, we have conversations with the government, we have great relationships with them. And if we're able to have that goal, then that sets up for success for fundamentally the one space where we think the most impact is going to be done, which is on Mars, and on creating that first Mars colony. In terms of where I see that, Elon's probably not going to live enough to see it. That's my take. As much as, you know, I'd love for that to happen. I think we're going to see it in the next 30 years, a very first like human village on that planet, right? And the idea is that that village is served by robots, and we want to be there. We want to provide the infrastructure for that.
Do you already have a relationship with NASA?
No, but we are working on it. I need it.
in the works. So if someone knows a NASA guy, let's get him over here. Well, you know what? We did have someone watch a show from XAI, so maybe they have a connection to Starlink and SpaceX. Are you guys in conversation with Starlink and SpaceX or anything there?
So Elon's a bit of a tough one because obviously he tends to build stuff in-house. When I was building those Starlink computers and I was like, hey, like I'm the first guy to stick a computer to a Starlink and it fit in the backpack and can be brought to these remote places. They were like, we don't care. If we want to build this, we'll just build it ourselves, right? I think acqui-hires don't really happen, especially at that level. So these conversations are really tough because he's such a proponent of vertical engineering and just doing everything in-house. We will have to build some form of competitors. Luckily for us, like Starlink, there's already competitors emerging. 2 Chinese companies are working on it. Amazon's Jeff Bezos is also working on it. So we will have other options to piggyback from. The biggest bottleneck at the end of the day is going to be launching. Right now, SpaceX is the only company, and probably for a while, that's going to be able to reliably launch stuff to the moon and to space and to Mars. And so you need to have a good relationship with them, where you don't hit them enough that they're like, oh, these guys are complete competitors, we're never going to accept them.
Sure. But
also, you don't want to be too close to them where they can just like copy everything you do. So it's a tough spot to be in, but I think it's going to make for a really great competition and a really great industry in the long term.
Walking a bit of a tightrope there. We got Josh in the back doing stream notes and kind of some of the technical stuff right now. He has a little honorary question. He goes, ask about how the robot got on the mountain. Did it like hike up? So maybe, I guess, you can fill us in on some of like the background details there. Did the robot hike up 20,000 feet to the top of the mountain? Did you guys take it up and just have it walk around and have the connection kind of be a proof of concept there? What did that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, in Ecuador, what you have to understand is the capital city is at 10,000 feet. So off the bat, you're already like pretty high, right? And these guys, they're born there, they grow up there, they're used to this space. And what happens essentially is you start climbing at 15,000 feet. So you only really have like 5,000 feet of pure summit push to get to the top. And what happened there is just a mix of both. Basically, the rule of thumb was anything that was below 30 degrees incline, so about a 40% elevation, which is about this, robot was able to do. It was able to reliably walk, and so it walked a total of 2 miles throughout this whole process. However, the summit push was 12 hours, and out of those 12 hours, I'd say 6 hours of those he had to be carried, because there were sections that are above 40%, and at that sections, like it's impossible for the robot to be able to do this. The robot doesn't have the back muscles to be able to carry out rock climbing, for instance. So guys, I'm sorry to let you know, but rock climbing won't happen for a while.
We're not going to get a Netflix special with a robot scaling a building like that one
free
dude.
Free solos, Yosemite is going to have to wait. It's going to have to wait.
No. Very cool. I think that really kind of wraps it for me. I guess just one more point I want to touch on is this virtuals relationship and like how the heck you got into crypto. Because it seems like, I mean, we got robotics and I'm loving the convergence of crypto and AI, and I can see the convergence in the future for many, many reasons. But like, how did you guys get into crypto? You obviously have the Peak token. What's maybe the use case of that token? How did you meet up with the virtuals team? Maybe just give me the full picture there.
Yeah, so two questions, right? Virtuals relationship and then the token utility. So virtuals relationship, very simple. No one wanted to give me a robot. When I started this, I was like, I need a robot to be able to start this company. No one wanted to give me a robot because every robot company that I went to, Unitree, Limex, Booster, name them all, they were all saying the same thing. You're going to make us look bad. Like you're going to put that robot, it's going to fail miserably, and then we're going to look super bad on camera. And it's and none of our investors are going to like what you're doing.
Valid.
And then I had a friend, very valid. And so I had a friend who had a connection to virtuals, who learned about their East Worlds initiative. They're creating the biggest robotics lab in Southeast Asia, who basically put me in touch with their head of business development. And so we had a call on the same Sunday that I got the contact, and I flew to Malaysia that same night to see that lab. And basically what happened there is they have 32 Unitrees, the latest, most expensive version of them. Jeez. And they were like, hey, within a 30-minute meeting, they were like, hey, just take one of our robots, do this. All you have to do is tokenize a project. I was like, what? That's it? And I get a robot for free? Fuck yeah. So that's how I got into crypto. And I was like, I got to say, I didn't know shit about crypto before. Nor was I like all interested in the space. However, like this has been of super massive use because basically what's happening right now is the token is basically driving most of our bootstrapping, right? Whether that's the travels to San Francisco, the initial robot expenses of really testing out different infrastructures, different computers. And so in terms of the utility is driving most of our initial bootstrapping. And it's probably going to make us be able to have that Ecuador deployment without getting any institutional investment, do that Everest deployment without getting any institutional investment.
Huge.
And we're super grateful for everybody that's been part of this mission, because that really delays us the whole process, the painful process of going to seek funding on this project to scale it.
So I guess, the question becomes, what's that worth to you? A lot of our conversations here are around equity components and, how tokens can become valuable. I think for these very early stage companies that go and launch a token and kind of use that as a seed round and raise money through it, you get two sides. One where like we had on the show right before this, Pumpcade, they do an ACE round where they can convert tokens to safe agreements and people can actually get equity in the company at future price rounds, or there's SPVs with equity in it. There's all these different conversations happening is all I'm saying. And so when these people get all this funding from these tokens, kind of equivalent to a seed round, the question becomes, what's that worth to you? Is it worth nothing? Do you forget about these people? Is it worth some sort of equity? How are you thinking about that? I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, I'm first of all, I'd like to say like a massive thank you to the holders, like anybody who's jumped in on this and was an early believer. Like we definitely want to pay back to that community. I think equity is the right way to put it, like the right to invest in a properly like company structure. Once we're raising institutional investment, I think those conversations are to be held around October, around November. We'll definitely reach out to every single holder, give them the opportunity at a discounted price to jump in on the company equity and own some part of the shares of the company. I think that's definitely the way to go. Is these guys are early believers and should be rewarded for it.
I love that. That's really cool. One more question. I want to talk about this East World Village or whatever, East World Initiation, whatever you called it, that Virtuals is doing. I was unfamiliar with this. Can you just give me more details on that?
Yeah, so essentially they're our main sponsor on this. They basically set up this lab that's open to anyone with a reasonable robotics project, where you can show up to Malaysia, spend 2-3 months there, and they'll give you all the access to the robots that they have, which are anything from humanoids all the way to robodogs, for you to carry out your software, your infrastructure project, or anything you can think of. Like we wanted, for example, some jackets, some shoes, and they were willing to provide that. Or wanted the batteries flown out to Nepal, they will provide that. So they'll provide additional perks depending on what the project is. What they ask in return is that you tokenize the project. The reason for that is like there's a clear path to how they get return on investment, which I think is super fair. Like, look, I got access to gear that was worth more than $100,000 for free, and they put that trust in me. And luckily for us, thanks to all the holders, they were able to make that money back. And so it's really been just a win-win. I think it's a great way for crypto to really fund some projects that are not quite ready there yet for institutional investment. And it's a really great initiative. Only positive things to say about it.
That's really cool.
Nice.
I had no clue that was a thing. How are the other people that have maybe gone down this route? I know Virtuals does a lot of work with definitely robotics companies. For example, we had Deuce on not too long ago, who has a bunch of private equity positions in robotics companies. So they're doing obviously a lot of stuff there. Have you met, or is that kind of like a network you guys can tap into?
Yeah, so I think there's some very valuable members of each cohort. Like Virtuals also personally has a lot of great connections, but with Robo Strategy, with Unitree, with various other people in the robotic space, but also in general, like they're just really well connected, and so they've been of great help on the networking side too. There's been some great projects. I think there was some relating to muscle trackers for when you're exercising, which has nothing to do with robotics. So they're willing to incubate other forms of projects, just as long as you're willing to go through this tokenization process. So I can only say positive things about East Worlds. Really, I think it's a great stuff what they're doing.
Yeah,
very cool.
Virtuals teams have been great to us for what it's worth as well. So that's that really cool information. Pablo, I think I have all my questions answered. Chill, I'll definitely jump in and ask anything you want to get off your chest here. But it's been a pleasure talking to you. This is a really cool conversation, and just like kind of out of my mind on just how crazy some of the stuff you're mentioning is. I mean, we're talking about space. We're talking about like rainforests and indigenous tribes and dogs who see robot dogs for the first time. I'm like, what kind of conversation is this? But Jill, if you have anything last you want to leave with here, go for it.
No, I think we did this one justice. I mean, there was so much that we could talk about in this interview, and it was just really cool to see how you came from a non-crypto background and you came in and just got a lot of support from the space, and now you're able to kind of pursue this grander vision of multiplanetary colonization, which is crazy to even say. But yes, no, thank you so much for the time and the interview today. It was amazing.
Best of luck, Pablo.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
All right, I'll see you guys soon.
We'll add too, if you want to make that relationship with the Impulsor team who's doing that private defense stuff. I know you said you're bearish on, contactless power transfer. I can definitely make that happen. Or if you just want to learn more about some of these equity models, of course, we have all those conversations as well. But happy to talk further in our private chat. But Pablo, it was a pleasure.
Let's get you back on after Ecuador. I want to get you back on after Ecuador and see how things went.
Once we have footage, yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
We'll get this.
Well, until next time, Pablo.
Peace, bud.
See you.
Dude, total like sci-fi conversation. That was chat. I hope you guys enjoyed that one because that was insane. What's the coin? All right, let's look at the
Peak.
coin right now. I guess that's the best next step, right?
Coin is peak, and we gotta check out Pumpcade as well. We didn't queue that one up either. Coin is peak.
So here is the coin.
Cool kid, by the way. That was a crazy conversation. I really liked how, he was building kind of in this technology before, but not for robotics. And then he's like, wait a minute, we're able to get this connection to these remote locations. How valuable would that be for, robotics in the rainforest and in Ecuador? And, they kind of brought that to life, which I always like to say, firstly, you have to solve a valuable problem. And he's found a problem, he solved it. And you of course have to have, I guess, the passion and whatnot to take it further. It's so much of a founder thing, but I like right there, I think at the very basic level of solving a very valuable problem and kind of having the expertise there. Dropped out of school for this. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, he said he dropped out of the top engineering school in France, which was insane. Abe the Brave. So if the Terminator come, we will run up the mountain. Dude, they say they can't do rock climbing.
Yeah, climb. But if the Terminator comes, he's probably got a big old, he's probably just gonna blast you, to be honest, or they're just gonna drone you. There's no escape
up with you in these pause moments these last couple of days, bro.
There was nothing sus about that.
Sure.
That was fair game.
Fair game.
Oh, he's just gonna come and blast you. See, bro, your mind goes straight to the gutter, guys. I can't even have these conversations anymore without being just subjected to the mind that you have.
Yo, boys, real quick before we talk about anything else, we didn't get a chance to do something. Our hey, yo, Crypto Jones. Oh boy.
What is going on, dude? What is ban him? Mods.
Get him out of here.
He was making comments too. I couldn't pull up during the stream. What's up with this? Hire an Israeli, the U.S.
I saw that.
Whatever they want. Crypto Jones, I can't pull that up during the stream. This stream might end because of this comment. Like we might get banned off of X because of this comment and just wiped from the face of the earth. So let's ban that guy, please. Let's ban that guy.
Get him out of here. So guys, real important moment right here. We're on stream and we're going toe to toe with Rasmer right now. Hey, look,
who's got what's his name on? Seb from Clued. Click
Are
on
you
that
serious?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, he's got RNG on. But here, I
feel like you're setting me up.
How much he was supposed to have Seb on today.
What?
I'm not sure if he already come on.
No Seb.
But I've said my piece.
No Seb. But we got Seb on here though. Look, it's all love. It's all love between us and Rasmer. But hey, look, we're competing here, right? Like we need the views too. And right now, we're toe and toe. We're neck and neck in this race. We actually started out a little below him, and like we kind of blew past him a little bit here recently. So we forgot, in that same vein, we forgot to do our housekeeping at the beginning. We were rushing. We had the Pumpcade interview. So guys, I need y'all to do me a favor. Go to @MCG Live. Make sure you're following the account. Appreciate y'all. We are coming up on 11,000 followers. Jeez. 11 smart money traders. 11,000 smart money traders.
We're talking about competing. Dare I say, pull up the counterparty? I don't know, because I think there's a flippening happening here if we pull up counterparties soon. I don't know.
Oh, geez. Let's see. 11.5K. So we still got a little work to do. But we're getting there. We're getting there. So guys, make sure you go to @MCG Live. Make sure you're following the account. We're here live Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Hit us up. Appreciate y'all for almost 11,000 followers. Next thing you want to do, you want to scroll down. Great interviews, by the way, despite all the anti-Semitic rhetoric. Well, we appreciate you, bro.
Thank you,
we
bro.
appreciate you.
Really,
the second thing you want to do, guys, is scroll down to the pinned tweet. Hit two things: like and RT.
Nice.
Right? We got 1,000 beautiful, smart money traders
Handsome.
on stream. Handsome. The physiognomy isn't lying.
No, I was gonna say as soon as I joined today, I saw your PFP. I was like, man, Chill's looking handsome today. Extra
Dude,
handsome.
look, like I say, chat, PFP to PFP, bro. Like this is a straight talk. I'm being real with you right now. Hit that like an RT. And you know what? I'm actually comment too. Throw a comment in there. We live.
We live, but not gonna be live too much longer because we just finished all our interviews.
Yo, fact. Actually, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yo, we live about an hour and about 2 hours ago.
Yo, for real. But seriously though, guys, hit that like and RT. We're they're about a little over 1,000 of us here on stream today. And get at least the rest of the stream out to the people. I'm going to put a comment in there also. Yeah, go ahead and throw a comment in there too.
This is a great question. Now, Chill's behind the PFP because you know what happens is when you have one of your senses taken away, the other ones become heightened. And he doesn't want you to have a visual aspect. He says, yo, listen to what I'm saying here. Yeah. Y'all not listening to what I'm saying here. Listen to what I'm saying. And you know, that's part of it. But it's a good question. Ave says, Chill, how many MTG followers for an undoxing?
Oh man. What a question.
Undoxing. I think it would just be a doxing.
Yeah, it'd be a doxing.
Yeah.
I'm doxed. My PFP is doxed.
if undoxing would be he doxes, right? He comes on stream, shows his face, and then goes anonymous. And then
actually,
PFP comes back.
What if I do that? What if I do that, Ave? Huh? I come on live for one individual stream. I do a face-to-face with you. I can speak instead of PFP to PFP. We can speak face-to-face.
See down his gullet.
Jesus.
Yo. I just tried to close my pen. I stabbed the shit out of myself, bro. Fuck. Like this.
Oh my gosh. This is hilarious. Can we get some clips of these moments, by the way? We need to clip up all of these pause moments and just throw them on the MCG Alpha account.
Yo, talk to me about the Discord, bro. What's going on with this?
Bros, the Discord. It's live. We're live.
We live.
So here's what you need to do, chat. You guys, if you want access to the Discord, you're going to want to go to the @MCG Live account. Go to the link in our bio.
Is that right?
And it's there. It's been there since this morning. So if anyone was like, checking out the link tree, it was there. But it's there now. You get public access to the Discord. There's a whole list of things that we have. We have clips, stream notes. You can make topic suggestions. You can give us feedback on who you want to see on the show, which projects are your favorite projects, which founders you really want to get on MCG. We'll use this also as a way to just corral the community together. I mean, look, I can tell you right now that Crypto Jones, Ave, so many others, Top Fumbler, so many others, we're all Darth Infernal, we're all in similar trades together. So I feel like as like our community, we're smart money. I'm just PFP to PFP, we're smart money. And so we're typically in the same trades. We all kind of have this like research focused vibe about our trading style. So what better thing to do than get all of us in the same Discord together, and let's just run ideas past each other, research together, trade together, talk about some setups. So you'll have all the MCG focused stuff, clips, stream notes. You can get projects and give suggestions and stuff like that. But then you'll also have like a general chat just to, ask questions to us, the team. We want to get to know you guys on a personal level. So I'll be especially active there. We have a trenching chat. So, if you want to like hunt new pairs, low caps, get a little risque with it. Like, we can filter through some of these plays. We can research these plays together. We got a perps channel as well. And then just an overall, just if you want to give us feedback on the show, how we're doing, if there's something that you want to see us do differently, things of that nature. We're all all of that is available. So link in the bio, guys. Link to the Discord in the bio. I'll also be posting this in my my Telegram as well. So we're probably set to get, you know, a few hundred people in here very easily. And I'm not sure at what point we'll stop the invites. We'll make a suggestion, or we'll make our minds up on that, because I can see us easily getting. What do you think, Dom? Like 300, 400, 500 people in here?
Depends how hard we want to push it. You're saying but yeah, by the end of the week we can probably do that, to be honest. But I don't know. Depends how hard we want to push it. We got to see.
Yeah,
it's early stages. I mean, we're still trying to figure out what the best flow is here. On top of this, guys, I'm not sure if we're able to tease this yet, but we're in very early stages, and we don't know how this is going to turn out. But got a little product coming. Got a little
MCG V1.
And I'm sure that's going to be accessible through Discord. No token. But you know, I'll give you the sneak peek. We do a lot of interviews, a lot of alpha from these interviews. It's kind of hard to track where you even kind of keep at the top of our mind. So we're going to have the transcripts from all the interviews, and we're going to have some sort of AI that's trained off of each interview, where you can, I guess, search individual interviews for specific moments, what people said, gather all the important information. And then I also think there's going to be a website with an overview of all of the interviews we've had, and key takeaways, promises made on stream, self-reported stuff, self-reported numbers. It's going to be interesting. It's not going to be, look, we're not developers. We have some help from the Damon team, actually. Shout out Damon, building this out right now. Very early stages, open to feedback, but that should be cool. Should be something to play around with.
Absolutely.
Good housekeeping.
Absolutely. So, and then we'll see if there's like anything we can do to like just incorporate that into the Discord as much as possible.
Give us feedback.
Yeah. So we're gonna just rely on feedback from you guys as much as possible. And look, the Discord is new. And we're still trying to get the flow down as more and more people kind of join the Discord and stuff. Like, I just want to see how many messages are there daily? Like, is there a way to cut through the noise, make it as high signal as possible? So we're going to keep tweaking things as much as we can. But yeah, we have that. We have that so far, guys. We have that so far.
Yeah, it'll be good, man. We're going to get it nailed down. Maybe even we'll invite if there's some founders you really want to talk with, pick their brains, maybe we'll try to get them in there for you guys too. It'll be something special.
Yeah, that's the other side of it too. Like we would we have so many founders that come on the show. We'd love to get them in the Discord as well. So, again, early stages, you get to be a part of it. A lot of cool stuff that we'll add on to it. I mean, I'm sure there's so many sponsorship opportunities and stuff like that ahead of us with MCG. So as we make connections and with other people, or with whether it be trading terminals or whatever, we can get our community kind of clued in on a lot of this stuff. So yeah, a lot of value that we can deliver through a Discord. So yeah, we'll continue to look at Ava. Ava's already in there. Ava's already in there. Welcome, bro. But yeah, that's the Discord. I'll probably make a tweet about it at some point. I don't know yet. I don't know how hard we want to push this just yet. So but I wanted to at the very least get it out to our live viewers first. There's over 1,000 of us in here watching live, and you guys have been with us from the get-go. So appreciate you guys. All right, let's go through the rest of the show here, Dom. What are you thinking? Anything? I got a few things to cover. I don't know what you have, or if there's anything specific you want to run through.
Yeah, I don't got too much. Again, I kind of went through my spiel of just undervalued assets in general. We have a lot of assets right now that are doing really good revenue, that are growing significantly, and they're just completely overlooked solely because they're crypto. I ran through this at the start of the stream. Feel free to go back and watch it. I was not going to do it again. Outside of that, I mean, yeah, just on-chain stuff. The Neobank stuff is popping off. I don't know how long this lasts. I'm not super bullish Neobanks right now. But obviously with Plasma really popping off, we got Anthem shilling Avicii. I guess you can go and trade some betas like Karma or Sonify. So there's that conversation, but I don't got too much to cover today, to be honest.
Got you.
Looking good, though, I think, for positioning.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, market's generally looking pretty good. I'd say that for sure. Let me let me see. I'm thinking. All right. So I got a few things that we can cover.
Oh, we got to cover the ZKFG Zinc drama because there's been a proposal.
Oh
One I
shoot. I didn't go ahead.
Yeah, let me pop this up actually. One I shared in the Discord the other day was, and let me here, I'll pop up the chart first actually. So ZKFG. Now, if you guys remember, we talked about this. There's this whole ZKFG drama with Zinc where ZKFG went and raised $960,000 or ballpark around that from MetaDAO. And then what happened was it didn't really work out. They liquidated, I think 500K went back to holders, something like that. People were mad because the Zinc team basically promised revenue flow to ZKFG. And then Zinc went and popped off. People were looking for claims on those flows. I posted in the chat, I don't remember exactly in Discord, but around this point, when it was on the dip, and I said, look, there could be a potential trade here because there's going to be a proposal. And if the proposal passes, it's going to resolve at 0.15 cents. So essentially, you have like the free upside here of 50% if it does resolve. The caveat being, of course, the proposal could fail. But I didn't see the proposal failing at all, considering most of the ZKFG holders are going to vote to do this. So kind of sent that in the chat. Today we got a bit more information on it. So let's read through this because this was interesting. There was a bit of headbutting between the ZKFG Zinc team and MetaDAO and like back and forth on the timeline. It was a bit unprofessional. But here's what it looks like. ZKFG 008 is live. It gets every holder outside the 65% supermajority group a high premium exit at 15 cents. Which of course is that point we talked about on the chart. Additionally, extra Zinc for the early backers who stayed with us before Zinc launched, right? So the early Zinc backers who have been with them since before Zinc, I would imagine that's ZKFG, they're going to get a little extra as well. That supermajority was bought entirely on the open market and will be excluded completely from any redemptions. I'm not sure who they're referring to by this supermajority, but whatever. We've been working with the MetaDAO team and speaking with advisors who are exceptionally familiar with the finance space. We also had calls with MetaDAO investors and understand the system and have taken the advice on board. These include White Whale, who's a serial founder, Vankality, founder at Hummingbot, and a Silicon Valley finance guy with decades of experience, and John McNiff, CEO of Thea, a liquid fund and investor in MetaDAO. Credit to MetaDAO for working through it with us. This was never a fight. It was about the cleanest exit for everyone holding ZKFG. The 15 cent gives every holder outside the supermajority a premium exit, and that extra Zinc looks after the loyal supporters who had stood by us from the beginning. And once again, the extra Zinc excludes the supermajority group. Swap starts in 23 hours. So there you have it. I think it's a pretty good resolution. People get their money for being early. The Zinc team can keep doing their own thing. Yeah. Any comment on that, Chill?
Nah. That's, I mean, it's crazy that they had that headbutting with
Yeah.
the little back and forth with MetaDAO, but I mean, no, not much to comment on there. I mean,
it's been resolved.
Yeah, it's been resolved. It'd be aight. It'd be straight.
Here I got something on Collector Crypt. You guys know I'm a big Collector Crypt bull, or have been in the past. This was something I'm not quite sure exactly what it means. Up for interpretation. They made this post. We quietly minted our first batch of collectibles using the Metaplex Core token standard. Core opens the door to new collectible formats, new experiments, and a few things that other token standards can do. We've been eager to build these things for a long time. So the thing about Collector Crypt that we thought was interesting was, okay, most of their revenue comes from Pokemon cards. A small bit of revenue is coming from One Piece. But we also know they're opening up the doors for comic books. And this kind of proves out any collectible asset can be tokenized. They can keep it in their storage facilities. It can be traded. They can have a marketplace for it. It was a big proving grounds. So, my thinking was always, what's the next step for Collector Crypt? How do we grow the pie from Pokemon, One Piece to whatever your heart can dream of that's a collectible? I think this might be the first steps in that direction. We quietly minted our first batch of collectibles using the Metaplex Core token standard. Core opens the door to new collectible formats, new experiments, and a few things that no other token standard can do. Again, nuance to it. Not sure what this means. We saw people try this in the past, like Collateralize, right? Who tokenize Pokemon cards, or who tokenize art pieces, right? Or who tokenize specific things. Again, collector cards was like base one, and now this is kind of proved, okay, we can tokenize anything. Viva, who no clue what they've done, they've gone silent, right? But they were a sponsor at one point. But they were thinking about tokenizing telco towers and having revenue flows directly to token holders. Like, again, the door kind of opens up here. So Collector Crypt really is in a position to do a lot of cool things. I don't know what this means, guys, but I would definitely keep eyes on this. Just continue to be bullish here, personally. So super cool. And Metaplex, of course, top tier team. They do all the NFT work behind the scenes right now for Collector Crypt's current cards. So comment on that, Joe?
Yeah, so there's actually something else that I wanted to talk about in regards to Collector Crypt. And here, let me share my screen, because that's actually pretty bullish that they were trying to do that. But did you see this? Bang. They flipped Pump Fund in terms of revenue. And at first there were some conflicting reports that came out, but at the end of the day, after it was all tallied up, you see that Collector Crypt flip Pump Fund in daily revenue, and they're now the #1 revenue generating business on Solana. Net revenue as of June 15th was $1 million.
Oh, this is profit. This is profit, not revenue, because they have probably 10x that in revenue, right? They probably
I meant to say
100 million
gross profit, not revenue. Yeah,
I did see this. I've been tracking the Blockworks very closely. I'm sure if you guys are Collector Crypt people, I'm sure you've seen some of my tweets recently. But yeah, their numbers are absolutely insane, all predicated from 1,100 users. Like, they have some of the most financially capital intensive users I've ever seen. It's really insane. Each user puts a lot of volume through that platform. And so that's the one thing, users are still growing a lot, and it's pretty concentrated right now, but that'll smooth out over time. But insane. I thought the conversation was going to be, okay, their revenue flip Pump Fund. And then I was going to say, well, the margins are 5 to 7%. So you can't take that face value, but their actual profits flip Pump Fund. Yeah. And this is hockey sticking. Look at that growth. It's not like a one-off thing. It's insane, bro.
J-shaped.
Yeah, it's the J-shaped hockey stick. No, you guys know I'm extremely bullish on cards. Yeah, insane.
The other thing here was getting off of cards. I saw Crypto Jones said Pumpcade takeaway is still a sleeper for the masses. That was a very bullish interview in my opinion. Absolutely, it was. We talked about the team. We talked about the team that the team member that he brought on. He said it was. You got to look back. Go watch the interview. But it was
I think we know who it is. There was some
who do you
people.
Think it is?
I forget his name, but there were some people that did some really good research on the timeline. They went and found X Jump, X Pump Fund guy who removed his badge right when the announcement happened. He's been retweeting all the Pumpcade stuff. So there was a very strong case I saw for this person. I'd have to find him again though. So
got you. But regardless, yeah, definitely a sleeper. They have the ability to go from 0 to 1. They and I liked what he said was he kind of garnered this early community of holders that really championed his product. But he's using that to now, build outside of crypto, right? Like, he's kind of garnering all of that interest, taking all of that community feedback and taking all of that community attention, turned it into an active investment through Ace for these folks. And then now turning around and using the funding that they got with all these large firms and using the network of the team member that they brought on board, and he's using all of that to now go back and build something that can reach the masses outside of crypto. So thought that was really interesting. I think they have a big announcement coming. He mentioned with the World Cup. So yeah, there's a lot there going on with Pumpcade, and we didn't tee up the chart for that one either. But this is the chart on Pumpcade. Absolutely goated. I mean, we can probably we can probably even find a falling wedge on this. Nah, we can't. But as you can see, breaking this downtrend. And if you were in the Discord as well, for all the Discord homies, we actually called this one out, down here, like 16 mil, some this sort of area right down here. I think Ika called that one out in the Discord. So yeah, dude, get in the Discord. It's good. We literally talk about all these setups all the time. And, when you have, one person can only read so much, do so much in the market. Whereas if you have 100, 200, 500 people all looking at the market at one time, can really help to broaden the search a little bit for good setups. But that's the setup there on Pumpcade. Did you see the bags news by any chance?
It's so funny you say that, dude. Look what I got it queued up right now.
Dude,
this was
all right.
crazy.
I had Finn's tweet pulled up. Go, bro.
Oh yeah, pull up Finn's tweet. His is better.
Dude, look at this.
Yeah, Finn's tweet is better. I saw this last night as I'm going to bed at it was 2 a.m. or 12. It was late, whatever. I'm like, what are they doing?
Yeah, so Finn says, we just shipped a new launch model on Bags app. We think launching tokens should be like going public in the stock market. So now all coins on Bags launch with only 4% of supply in circulation, just like the SpaceX IPO. LOL. Didn't we see the effects of this back in the ETH utility days where, but anywho, we also, thank you. And isn't that what started the whole meme coin run in the first place? Pendulum seems to be swinging from one side to the other. Anywho, he says, we also introduced dynamic fees based on market cap, with fees dropping from 2% to 0.5% as market caps increase. Once coins migrate, 25% of all fees are used to compound liquidity. LP gets deeper as more people trade. We're excited to see how this model can improve launches in our ecosystem. Get ready for higher ceilings on Bags app. All right, here's my thing. First problem. If you have to say get ready for higher ceilings, just know that the ceilings will probably be low for a long time. Okay? There's nothing. A lot of people get this wrong. The market will do what the market does. If the market is buying up your tokens, cool. But if you have to tell them to do that, not cool. It's not going to happen. And I just think I don't like this. I don't like this model at all.
Pump and dumps. All right. The issue with this is Bags is already known for pump and dumps. What 4% float is literally just going to be a pump and dump. I mean, literally. Every trade's going to move the market.
I guess my question is, where's the rest? Like, what happens with the rest? Float, 4% supply and circulation. Oh, that's it.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't mention it. There's 96% unaccounted for supply here. If the team has that, I'm not touching these tokens. Is it vested? I got no clue. I'm curious to see how this goes for the first one that does it or something. But ooh, what are we
talking about? Okay, all right. Well, there's that. So there was the news out of Bags app. I think overall, we're both in of the same mindset. Massively bearish on that one. Did you see Base and Jesse?
No, I have no clue what you're talking about there. And before we even do that, we should watch FOMC today with the new Fed chair. This is Fed Chair Warsh's first FOMC.
When's the
stepping
FOMC?
up? I think right now it looks like he's taking the stage.
FOMC meeting
We have to-
today. Let's see.
Yeah, he just joined. Let's pull that up for a second.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
looking for a spot for the live feed.
it's on the Fed's website. You can always find it. And there's, everyone's streaming it on YouTube as well. Yeah, dude. So what's funny is meet Kevin. I used to watch the Fed meetings on
Yeah,
his YouTube
yeah.
channel because he does the bingo cards for like what the Fed's gonna say, or like different things that happen during all these Fed meetings. It's pretty funny because they get boring. I mean, if you guys have listened through a FOMC meeting, it's pretty boring a lot of the time.
It's rough. It's massively rough. All right, here's the live.
And you can unshare, yeah, completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested to hear my guy, the new Fed chair, Mr. Warsh, one of us, big crypto bro.
I will be working in close collaboration to ask what changes might improve the conduct of monetary policy. On that score, you might have already noticed something, a difference in today's policy statement. It's a bit shorter, a bit simpler, and it dispenses with some older language. That statement just gives you the facts as best we can judge it. Absent also is so-called forward guidance.
Well, it gets fun when people start asking questions, guys.
Was not well suited.
And fun
to the
should be
current
taken with a
policy
grain of salt.
conjuncture. This afternoon, you also received the usual summary of economic projections.
They're getting rid of forward guidance. That's
for
huge.
Participants to submit these projections, and I have encouraged my colleagues.
Can you
to
explain
continue
it?
to
Can
do
you
so.
explain what that means, Jill?
I, however, have refrained from offering any projections of my own, consistent with my long-held views on the SEP.
So let me just say this. Forward guidance, basically, for years, Powell, he kind of just gave a bit of a heads up as far as where they think things would be headed. And so it helps people to prepare. And it was honestly a really good tool because essentially, his words move markets. So if markets were getting ahead of themselves, they can kind of slow things down and say, hey, look, here's a forward projection. Don't get too ahead of yourself. So that was used as a tool, a lever that they can pull. Removing forward guidance reduces amount of BS speculation in the future. Absolutely. I think there's goods and bads to it. But I think when they really need to have forward guidance to kind of pull those levers, I think that gives them less tools, less means of kind of controlling markets. But let's see what he has to say more.
Productivity and jobs in an era of transformation. And last, the Fed's inflation frameworks. These subjects are timely, consequential, and in my view, worthy of a fresh look. My colleagues and I discussed them with energy and purpose over the last couple of days. For each of these independent task forces, I'm enlisting some of the very best minds,
who's she
both
with?
inside and outside the economics profession. They will be supported by subject matter specialists from our superb Fed staff. And they'll have a straightforward charge. Start with first principles. Ask hard questions.
How old's
Examine
Mr. Warsh,
current
Kevin Warsh here?
practice. Consider
Let's
alternatives.
do a little quick search.
And ultimately propose next steps for policymaker consideration.
He is 56.
Since last summer, my colleagues
Young buck
discussed possible
Young guy,
improvements
for
in the
sure.
form and function of Fed communications. This new task force will build on that effort, and I expect propose some well-considered changes, including to the SEP I mentioned a few moments ago. The second task force, the one on balance sheet policy, will review the benefits and risks of the current ample reserves regime and the composition of the Fed's balance sheet.
Okay.
They will assess alternative frameworks for the conduct and operation of monetary policy. The third task force, the one on data, will evaluate new information sources and consider methodological
Markets are
changes
liking
to improve
this,
data gathering,
relatively.
with the aim of giving
at least recent
policymakers
statements.
more accurate, relevant, contemporaneous, and perhaps most important, actionable information on the state of our economy. Fourth, the task force on productivity and jobs. It'll survey the pace, the reach, the economic impact of new general purpose technologies, including AI, and explore the implications for the Fed in pursuit of our employment and inflation.
I do believe he's a
mandates.
little more innovation
The last
forward
task
than
force,
previous
the one
Fed
on
chairs.
inflation frameworks.
Yeah.
That'll examine the drivers of inflation, first principles, and weigh the full range of ideas for delivering price stability in a changing economy.
Yeah, it seems like we got a bit of a fake
You'll
out.
hear quite
as
a
he
bit
was.
more
I think
about
I'm
these
bearish
task
here.
forces and this overall initiative in the coming weeks. Enough for now to make a simple statement. Each task force will serve an objective shared by everyone in the system, shared by everyone around that table that I sat with over the last couple of days. A Federal Reserve that is clear-eyed about its mission, fit for purpose, and focused on the future. And with that, I appreciate your attention. I'm happy to take your questions.
All right, here comes the fun part.
Made it quick.
That's what he said. This is going to be shorter than before.
Voters, good to see you again, and welcome back. This is a lot to be putting in motion so fast. What is the timeline you have in mind for each of these?
So
Thanks, Howard.
I think it'll depend on the task force. It also depends on the urgency in which we need clear answers. My expectation, I'm still in the business of recruiting and finalizing them.
Kevin Morris's PR trained, bro. You can tell.
We'll begin work in the next couple of weeks.
Media trained.
And we'll start to get
Yeah.
some more information from them, some more framing of how they see things starting in the fall end. Hopefully most, if not all of them, concluding by year end.
And
A bit of
just
a non-answer.
specifically on the inflation framework, you talk about first principles. Does this include a review of the 2% target itself? You mentioned that things to the right of the decimal point don't matter. Should this be starting from a premise that 2%
This guy
as a
loves
point
the task
estimate
force.
is too strict?
Yes, he does.
Let me break that into two pieces. First, on the inflation
Yeah, the market
framework
looks this.
review,
This is important
their
right here.
remit is, what are the drivers of inflation? What's the Fed's responsibility for inflation? In part, how do we measure inflation? But that'll overlap with my data group. On the 2% inflation objective, that is the Federal Reserve's long-held objective of 2%.
Wow.
You've heard me say before, I tend to focus on the left of the decimal point. Well, the 2 is the left of the decimal point. For now, 0 is to the right. I see no reason until we have reestablished our commitment and ability to deliver on the 2% inflation objective to revisit that. So that'll be outside the scope of what we're taking on.
Huh. Wow. That's interesting. I think
Thank you so much, Colby Smith with the New York Times.
they might.
You've in the past
Hold
said
on,
that
I'll wait,
inflation
I'll
is a
wait.
choice, and in the policy statement, it includes this pledge to
Ooh.
deliver price stability, as you've reiterated today. But looking at the SEP, the bulk of your colleagues expect core PCE to run around 3.3% by year end, and for the 2% inflation target not to be reached until 2028.
Great question.
So I'm curious how patient you think the Fed can afford to be at this juncture in terms of waiting for one-time inflation waves to wash through.
I'm sorry, what was the question
and
again?
for underlying inflation to step down after so many
Waiting.
years of inflation running above target. And under what circumstances you would support the Fed taking some action and raising rates?
I don't think he got that.
So
He was
quite a bit
daydreaming.
there. Let me try to break that into pieces.
See?
First, we have the
Dog.
capability and commitment to deliver on our price stability objective of 2%. That's exactly what we're going to do. In the Fed's review of its strategy over the last any number of years, in January, the Fed, including the strategy that we're still bound by, the Fed statement says that inflation is primarily determined by monetary policy. You bet it is. I've said for years, inflation is a choice. You bet it is. And today I'm announcing that this committee unambiguously and
markets like that.
unanimously have decided we are going to deliver on that. The rest of your questions sounded like a encouragement for me to give forward guidance. We've dropped forward guidance. Some
Stand on
along the
business.
committee, I think, dropped it, I suspect, from our discussion the last couple of days, because they said at this moment in time, it doesn't feel as though providing forward guidance is right. Others have, I'd say, different views and think as a general proposition, forward guidance isn't the business we should be in.
Without forward
But that will
guidance,
be
I will
taken
say
up
these
by the task
FOMC
force on
meetings are
communications
much
and
more
my
important to tune
policymaker,
into because you will see
colleagues.
stronger
We're
market
gonna listen
reactions
hard to what the
when they
experts
do
say and make
speak.
our own decision.
Yeah.
But I can't give any forward
And when the
guidance
numbers
about
come
what we're
out,
gonna
it'll
do
actually
next. The
be a
good
lot of more
news
movement before
is
he
we'll
even
be
comes
meeting
up
in
and
6
speaks.
weeks.
So just
Mhm.
following up, I guess, on the current policy settings, then I am curious how restrictive you think things are at the current moment, given the flow of data that we've seen and, forecasts that are coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, I've heard characterizations both inside and the Fed about that. I'll give you my own. It's uneven. If I look at the housing markets as one example, Fed policy isn't the single determinant of the state of the housing market, but broadly, I would say Fed policy appears to be somewhat restrictive. I would have a hard time managing to say those words if I were to see what's happening in financial markets. So I'd say it's uneven. That's perhaps a function of different transmission mechanisms of monetary policy, whether monetary policy is coming from our interest rate tool or our balance sheet tool. But the good news, we have a task force on that too, and the balance sheet task force will be looking more at that subject.
He's
Yeah,
dodging
he
a
does
bit
too.
with, again,
You
like
said
no
you-
forward
you
guidance
don't
kind of
like,
means he's just
forward
not going to
guidance.
answer a
You
lot of
dropped it
questions.
from the statement this time, but with the dot plot, 9 members suggested that they want a rate increase by the end of the year, and the markets have taken that as forward guidance. So what does this mean in terms of how you guide the markets and in terms of what?
Yeah,
the
he's
dot
not giving
plot's
answers.
future
He's saying,
I'm going to have to give you the same answer I gave to Ms. Smith. We've got a task force for that.
so that's the thing,
I'll
though.
give you a
He
little
is the
bit more.
task force. The Fed is the task force.
I reviewed the dot plots, and when I saw the submissions, I noted that all the submissions were coming in with pencils, those kind with the big erasers. That's to say that I think my colleagues around the table, when they submitted their dots, understand the world is changing quite quickly. And they didn't feel bound
Markets
by
are
them
liking
6
this.
weeks from now or 6 days from now, and if in the event that their circumstances change.
Quick tab. Boom, boom. Looking good. Quick tap back.
As they submitted their modal forecasts, to be clear, this was more likely than not. This was more likely than their other scenarios. So I didn't hear tons of conviction. What I heard was the kind of humility that I think we should have. I did not submit a dot. For me, it's not helpful in the conduct of policy. I suspect by year end, as I mentioned in my opening statements, there'll be a review about communications broadly, press conferences, dots, meetings and the like, transcripts, minutes. This will be part of that.
Do we think his head
I
of hair
prejudge the
is
outcomes there, but I'm pretty
natural,
open-minded about what they
or
could
do we think
be.
that's dyed?
I was
Nah,
just
it's
incredibly
natural.
impressed over the
Think so?
last couple of days.
Natural, yeah.
My
My Fed chair
colleagues
has
over
a
the last
natural
2
head of
days, and
hair.
frankly, the first 3 weeks I've been here,
Because
have
I
been
don't see
very
any
open
salt
about
and pepper in there.
changes.
It's all
Change
just
isn't
pepper.
easy. Change is filled with risk. But
No, there's some
our
salt.
number one goal
There's
is
some
to get
salt.
monetary policy
Is there?
right.
Let me blow this
The
thing
way to
up.
get monetary policy right is to deliver on the remit that Congress gave us, to deliver on price stability. And there was no disagreement on any of those points.
At the risk of possibly getting the same answer about task forces, communications, what
Jeez.
is your feeling about these news conferences? Are you going to continue one after every meeting?
That's what I'm
Think
waiting
find them
for
useful?
here,
What
Abe.
is the
If he
future
calls
for
on one
the
of
way
us,
Kevin Warsh
we'll
will
ask.
communicate?
Well,
you right
probably
there.
got another 15
Dominic
or 20
from
minutes in it,
MCG.
so I don't want to prejudge
Yeah,
the
we're
outcome.
wondering about your crypto holdings. Is that
press
like a
conferences
holdings
can
company,
be
or
a
are these all
very
individual picks? Thanks.
holds businesses and more broadly through using the likes of
Oh
you.
man.
I had a great old mentor named George Schultz, and his mantra was
Well, there, Dominic, as a part of our crypto task force, we can't disclose specific holdings of said crypto assets, digital assets, if I might.
Fed forward.
Yeah, well,
And to
that's
give
part of the
you
task
and the American
force's
people a
job.
sense that these aren't idle thoughts; these are concrete thoughts.
I'm
that
looking
we're
for
going to
something
seek out the best
powerful
minds,
from
both
him.
the best thinking inside of the Federal Reserve, and the best people I know in business and economics and the academy and technology and the rest, to share their views. That's what we're going to be doing here, the pursuit of truth. I think we're going to come up with some new and interesting things. We made some changes today. I expect more changes to come. And some of those might well be worthy of a press conference.
Wait, huh?
Hi,
He said
Chris Rugaber,
said he's going to
Associated Press.
be
Thanks
making
for
some
taking my
changes.
questions. Could you
I
give us a
didn't
sense of how you
even
see
catch that. I was
inflation more in the long term? I know you may not want to comment on the ups and downs, but is this mainly driven by energy prices in the Iran war at this point, or do you have any concerns about underlying inflation pressures in the economy? Thank you.
All right, big answer
So
here,
I
guys.
can't do much better than the committee just did. So let me restate it. Inflation remains elevated relative to the committee's 2% goal, in part reflecting supply shocks that have driven price increases in certain sectors, including energy. The paragraph goes on to say, but to be clear, the Fed will deliver price stability. My own judgment is the committee spent quite a bit of time, not just in 2 days, but over iterations of a couple of weeks. That's what we're prepared to say about inflation, but the commitment to deliver is strong, unanimous, and unambiguous. And that's, I think, an important message. We've missed for 5 years, and we're going to fix that.
Well, great. And then just on the data task force and everything else, I mean, generally speaking, I think people feel the Fed looks at everything already. Certainly that was the sense from before. Is there data that you feel is not given enough weight? I mean, you mentioned the trim to mean in the past, but again, that's well known to certainly most Fed members. So what is that task force looking at, and what might be I mean, I know you don't want to prejudge the outcome, but are there examples of data that you expect might be given more weight? Thank you.
So you're answering my question. So let me say, I don't want to prejudge the outcome. I also don't want to say too much about what they're going to do because I still have a phone call or two to make before I've nailed down the people that are doing that. I'm interested in what the outside experts' view is on the subject. I'll say this generally. Most of the data that central bankers and other government officials in the United States consume come with old-fashioned survey methods, a national accounts of what the U.S. economy looks like that looks very little like the U.S. economy in 2026. Survey methods that don't have response rates that we need, asking questions that might have been quite applicable a generation ago that are less applicable now. So even inside of official statistics, I would be open-minded if the task force and our own best thinking had recommendations how those official statistics can be brought up to a standard of our time using new analytic methods. I'd also say this, almost every private company CEO that's running his or her business are doing so with real-time information that isn't subject to much revision, that is telling them what just happened at that very moment. As you know, there are normal, long and variable lags in the conduct of monetary policy. What we're really interested in is what's happening right now. What we're less interested in is echoes of history. And you're hearing from my answer that some of the data that we receive, that we're waiting on, the first Friday after the month, the payroll index or something else, that might be an echo of history that's quite useful on its third revision. We need to take those error bounds down because we have to make hard decisions in real time. I'm really open-minded that there is a lot of new data sources that we can learn from the private sector.
This is
from
big.
Reforms in the official sector.
This
and
is
new
big.
analytic techniques that are far more refined than asking a simple question about whether something was core or non-core.
This is big.
Edward.
All right.
Thanks. Welcome, Mr. Chairman. Edward Lawrence with Fox Business. So if you don't give a lot of ongoing forward guidance, won't the markets have more volatility, and shouldn't Americans have more access into what you're thinking going forward?
So I think financial markets perform best when they react to incoming data. I think the financial markets work less efficiently when they ask a question, how will the Federal Reserve react to that incoming information? The more that markets are paying attention to what's happening in the real economy, deciding what's good data and what's less good data, the more financial markets can price what they believe is the most likely and what are the tail risks. Financial market prices are probably the most important source of information to guide central bankers.
No way.
But when all the financial markets are doing is reflecting back what we've said, then we're taking the most important source of information and we're being blind to it. I'd like us to create a system where those blinders come off, where markets are following data that they efficiently think is reliable and they'll be watching data. We'll be watching data. They'll come with better information through market prices to us. We can make more informed decisions. But ultimately, the goal that I said at the outset, deliver on the price stability objective that Congress told us to do, and that we've got to get in the business of doing.
Yeah, if I could take you in the meeting a little bit. This is your first meeting. The board members seem fairly hawkish when you listen to, in general, when you listen to what they're saying. Was there any discussion of a rate cut going forward today?
There was one proposal on the table. There was no discussion of any other proposals. The discussion on that proposal, I would say, was quite limited. The group was unanimous and unambiguous on it. It has been the practice of this central bank and others to have a range of alternatives. Today we had one. I thought it furthered discussion, deepened it, and made it clear what we needed to do and how we needed to deliver. I wouldn't prejudge what happens in the future, but there was only one big subject for us. We took it on. We had a good family fight on it for a couple of days, and we ended up, I think, in a better place.
Thanks a lot, Claire Jones, Financial Times. Coming to this blind, reading this very nice short statement that I think we've all appreciated in the room, one might wonder why you didn't raise rates today, considering what you're saying here about the risks to US inflation and your mandate. I guess, why not, and what would you need to see in order to get to that place? And secondly, on your task forces, are there any best practices at other central banks that you'd consider looking at? Thank you.
I'm glad they're in the practice of giving you two questions, because my answer to your first question was to be very curt. I've got nothing more to say than the statement itself. And to the point of the question I got before, market reactions to what we say unfiltered, I think is more helpful than having delivered a statement, me then improvising further upon it. Best practices of task forces. This is a subject I've thought some about. I've been on a task.
There's a couple important stuff that, like, and he's basically just reiterating what he said before to some of the prior questions, but there's a couple very, very important takeaways here for markets that I want to just touch on briefly after this.
Have a bit of a family fight. Make sure when you establish a task force that the group that's going to be the recipient of the information feels as though they've got some equities in it too. That's why we're looking for, haven't done the final roll call, some of the most significant talent we have in the building and across the reserve banks on each of these, and in some sense seconding them to this group for a period of some number of months. The most analytical central bank in the world thinks about that. They can reflect on it. And a final best practice, we're not outsourcing decisions to anybody. Administrations past and present, reserve banks have chosen a group of 19 people around the table. These will be our decisions. We can agree to some of the recommendations, disagree with others, have a good family fight about it. But what comes from them will, I hope and believe, make the discussion we have internally better, stronger.
Sounded like he was about to cry for a second
so that
there.
We can finally deliver on that price stability objective.
Probably because of that family fight.
Follow up on your markets point. If you look at 2-year yields, they're really suggesting that markets think more tightening is needed. Would that be your read on what the 2-year yield is saying as well?
We were in such a good place. This is why we don't do third questions, I presume. I'm not going to offer any commentary on market reaction over the last 30 or 60 minutes.
Let me see what the bonds look
What we've
like.
given markets is a new chapter for the central bank. Some
All right,
fresh
yeah, we're
thinking.
seeing 2-year bond yields up
We've given
2.5%.
markets and households and businesses, I think, is
on the
a
day.
commitment to ask ourselves hard questions such that we can deliver on the
I think
promises that we've made before.
I think we've pretty much gotten what we needed
Yeah.
to get out of the FOMC. Here's real quick a real quick snapshot of just Bitcoin and how it's reacting to excuse me, all of the news. Bang. So here's the Bitcoin chart. Couple takeaways. Obviously, I've told you guys that I'm looking. This is an area of resistance. Looking for a higher low on the chart before we ultimately head sub 60K. there's a couple takeaways. He basically said that there were no cuts being discussed, right? The whole thing about Kevin Warsh was him coming in and cutting rates, and people wanted that cut to happen, immediately. And he just said that there was one proposal for a cut. There's one proposal for a cut. But other than that, they haven't really, and that was discussed and done with, right? So there's that. I think that's something that's important. That's probably going to end up filtering through markets. I think something else on the more bullish side, though, is the no forward guidance and his openness to new sources of data. He said a lot of the data that's being used to calculate the moves of the Fed are relics of the past, data that's not forward looking, and if anything gives you a snapshot of where the economy was and not where it is.
Lagging
and
indicators.
So lagging indicators, that's the term. And I think that in conjunction with, he said, I just want to say something, here's the facts, and I want the market to react to it. That's what he's trying to get out of this, because he's trying to see, like, how is the market pricing things? And the market pricing things is a really efficient metric, and and the market is really efficient at sniffing out all these different things that might happen, and that's a good, reliable indicator that the Fed can use to make decisions. And you'll compromise that indicator if he comments on what could happen, what may happen. If there's any speculation, it's going to compromise that efficient pricing that the market tends to do on its own. So what I think FOMCs going forward will be less volatile, because as Jay Powell, as he answered questions, you see the markets would just go up and down and have a lot of volatility. But then I also think that these FOMCs will naturally introduce a ton of volatility in markets, period. Not just in the day of the FOMC, but just overall. Okay, they just drop a number at the FOMC meeting and they give you no further clarification or no further guidance on what that means for the future. They just say, here's the unemployment,
facts,
here's the inflation, and then that's it. And they let the markets just sit with that for however long. So I do think that, that's going to naturally introduce some more volatility, overall. But I think the day of, there's less volatility because there's not these questions being asked about all these different parts of their decision making, and that's influencing the markets on a 5-minute, 15-minute time frame. I mean, let's go down to 5 minutes here, and you basically see that we haven't really done much since the meeting started. It's been in a pretty tight range, whereas in FOMC meetings of the past, longs and shorts will get liquidated on the same day, within 30 minutes because of everything that's being said by the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So I think there's a couple bullish things here too. He also mentioned lastly that there's going to be different changes to the banking regulations and their reserve assets and how much that will be. And I think there will be some changes to how they calculate inflation. So we'll see. I think overall, though, pretty bullish FOMC. I think markets generally saw what they needed to see. I think the only thing is that they're not discussing any type of rate cut, which is what the market wanted. But at the end of the day, markets are in the same place. They're not revising the target for the Federal Reserve. So he's been pretty firm on that. They're not going to provide forward guidance that will push the market in one direction or another. And he's open to new data points, which will honestly help the FOMC or help the Federal Reserve to be a lot more efficient in their decision making. So, I mean, look, a lot of good things coming out of that FOMC, but this is not a macro show. So let's to wrap up today, let's real quick look on chain and let's see if there's anything interesting happening. Pumpcade is looking good. Nice little pump. Looks like Opal. I tweeted about Opal just the other day. Opal's coming into a nice little level here. Coming off the ace round, they've had some meetings with some top people in gaming. And we know GameFi is kind of a bit of a hype narrative right now. So there's some connection there. Could be a tailwind for price. Opal met with yes, that they met with Floodgate yesterday. I didn't see like a tweet or anything like that. I didn't see a tweet or anything like that about Floodgate yesterday. But it's Floodgate's they're a well-known VC firm. And they've made quality investments in the past. So yeah. Check JW tweet Neobanks building on Umbra. Ooh, really? Just in Discord. Let me see. I'll check the Discord right now. Checking. Bro, why is Believe at 4.5 million? Wait a second. What's going on with Believe? It's up 3x in the last 24 hours. Wait a second. What are we talking about? This holy crap. What are we talking about? Jeez, look at that. Who's buying Believe? Dom, is that you? I think you're unmuted, brother.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. No, this has happened in the past. I think this is just, obviously it's crime. What's happening is I think this is listed on perp platforms still, certain ones. And, got listed when it's 100, 200, 300 million. And now what people do is they go and buy up a ton of supply, move the price up while they're long on a perp platform, of course, printing a bunch of money, and then they go short and they dump all their supply. This happened in the past. Maybe if you zoom out a little bit, we can see the previous example. Yeah. So
I see.
Same sitch.
On-chain crime. You gotta love it. Let me take a look real quick at Opal. Let's get a clean Opal clip here. I'm sure we'll see a lot more people kind of like speculate a little bit more on the FOMC and what have you. But Opal, let's look at the Opal Twitter page, because when we looked earlier this week, there wasn't much. And I guess, yes, I would have to check the Discord. But yeah, no official announcements or anything made on the Twitter. Let's go here real quick. Let's see if there's anything. Sometimes you go to these like communities and you can like really snag some good alpha. Been pretty silent. Buckle up. VC's lined up. All right, so not much over the last week, but one thing I do know is they met with LPL yesterday. This is one of the largest gaming organizations globally from what I understand. Yeah, biggest pro gaming league globally. So they met with them, and they have a partnership with them as well. So obviously with them going after behavioral data through gaming as the first kind of vehicle to do that, that's pretty huge. I know they met with a few. I've been hearing kind of like, little things here and there that they've been meeting with people and stuff like that over the last few days. But yeah, like Pixel here is saying, he's been traveling, so he's been pretty quiet. Yeah, I assume it's going to be pretty hard to keep up with like consistent updates if you're just in and out of the airport all the time, and then doing these meetings and what have you. But still very bullish on Opal here. Obviously coming down to a nice little level. Would love to see it here sub 2 mil, but I don't think 2 mil is a bad area to start scaling in. What else do we have? Honestly, like not much pumps like happening in the market right now.
Well, Kodak's pumping a little bit. I know you're a fan of that. Hermes World is ripping. It's up another 100% today. It's up 300% the other day. It's up another 100% today.
Let's check out GameFi. Yeah,
we covered
let's
this
check
on
out
the stream
GameFi.
yesterday. We covered a lot of these GameFi things on stream. We covered Frag, Hermes World, Claude World, or whatever. But yeah, this one's going absolutely stupid. Kins, I think, is also on a little pump today.
Dummy. All right, dummy. Yeah, Hermes World is going. Kin's like just up 15%. It's not even anything huge. Honestly, like it looks ready to kind of roll over a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, see, I haven't played Kins. Again, like the best thing of advice is go and play all these games, and the one that's actually fun and addicting is probably the best option. I haven't played any of them, so not taking my own advice there, but whatever.
That's my view here on Kins. I'm not gonna FUD anyone out their bags, but you see it. The last time you saw it was Zek before it went like sub 200 from like 700. Yeah, no, it went like
down.
It went minus like 50% or something like that.
Was it that much?
Freaking crazy. Let's
what about Jim? Check Jim for me. It was down last I checked. We have them coming on next week. This is the Pokemon game again, where you can actually keep the physical collectibles. Zero's one I think we have coming on the show next week as well. Crypto Jones. Yeah, so this one could be at an interesting area. Again, whole new take on GameFi, right? Where you actually have physical collectibles, in this case, Pokemon cards that you can actually play for and redeem from the game. So it adds a real world element to it, which is pretty interesting.
So Pivot is sub 600K. FYI, front running that level a little bit, but honestly, it kind of looks like it wants to kind of turn over and go down. It looks like it wants to kind of turn over into this level. Like it looks like it wants to do this. That's my view on that's my take on it right now.
Yeah, I think it's at the intersection of the cards meta and then also the gaming meta. So it's it can kind of be shilled both directions, which I like.
Yeah. So definitely some tailwind here that could come for Jim. Thoughts on Clued PA? All right, let's check out.
Just wanted to give me. I just
saw
wanted
it was
to give me
bouncing
like 1.5,
a little bit,
bro. Just want to get on.
Yeah, dude. I'm still waiting. I'm
gonna be pretty tilted if I don't fill my full position. I'm not gonna lie, because it's been bouncing in this range, this 1.6 to 1.8 to 1 to 2 million range forever, dude. Forever. And we know what's coming is the worst part. We know what's coming for Clued. Like Ace round's coming, future raises are coming, working with the governments, something he talked about. He is on Rasmer today, so hopefully Rasmer doesn't pump our bags.
Probably might. Probably
might.
Right,
it got a little pump off the announcement.
Give me a sec. I got way too many tabs open. This stupid Fed video. Let's close that out. Here we go.
We're going to talk about Avicii here in a second too, because their numbers are pretty impressive.
Their numbers have always been really impressive. Shout out to them. Yeah, I mean, Clued is basically in the same spot as it was before. I still want this. I still want this level tapped again. If we can get our sub 1.5 mil, we can get somewhere around here, I'd be really, really, really happy with Clued. And we keep seeing these sell-offs, man, that are like crazy on the Clued chart for whatever reason. Like either someone, because I realize that this came up from really low. This came from sub 600K, and it went straight to 4 mil. And it had so to me, it seems like there's a lot of people that are just been kind of selling off their bags up here. Cause I mean, look at these fat candles. They're not even going down, little by little. It's like some real, and there are barely any wicks on a lot of these down candles, right? Like it's just these fat sell-offs all throughout the chart on Clued. So it really got me thinking that, you know, someone has a bag that they're offloading. And so I feel I feel confident we'll revisit this. We'll revisit this level. I'll keep that marked. I'll keep that marked on the chart. But obviously, still bullish on Clued as a whole. Nook guys were disappointed yesterday. Those are my boys, man. I can't even lie. I should have just popped on for the interview itself. I really love the team at Nook, man. They're super cool. Their interview that I did with them the first time around was really nice, and I really like what they're building and their whole vibe, about their team. They look pretty. They're pretty nice.
Yeah.
I told you guys real quick before we get to the Nook and Squire PA. We talked about Pi. Remember we did all the research on Pi live on stream down here, and it tapped. You know, it went. You know, I don't even know how high that is. 4x, 4.5x.
Nice.
So nice little move there. We're coming now to a key level. If we were to go, not the USDC side, if we were to go to market cap side, switch this back to USD, I think that'll be sub 2 mil. So if we get to like this sub 2 mil area, which would be the sub 2 mil area, which would be like the 0.786, I think would be nice. But honestly, here is not a bad place at all either. Nice little little spot for the pivot. Nice little spot for the pivot here too. So not a bad area right where we are at 2 mil. If you want to get a little bit more surgical with it, you know, definitely sub 2 mil, but getting some, I knew it would retrace because really it was just off Ansem speculation. Anything that's a tweet, anything that's Ansem tweeted, totally chilled, whatever, all that stuff will eventually retrace as attention flows elsewhere and people get bored. That's what happens on Solana. Let's see here.
Here, let's do
Squire.
Let me do a quick Avicii segment because I'm going to bounce after this and get lunch and shit. But let me do a quick Avicii segment. Can we pull up that chart? You've been talking to Ika a bit about Plasma and the Neobanks. What's the thesis on that? Do you have any idea there?
I mean, you know, basically what Ika's been saying, you know, with Plasma is they're coming into such an undervalued level because it was basically like $6,000 to get like some type of like elevated tier access to their cards, their debit cards and stuff like that. They're coming out with really good numbers. They had a ton of signups. Let me actually go back real quick to the his actual message. Yeah, so it's you get 4% cash back, you get 10% of AI cash back, and 10% of flight cash back if you were to lock 100,000 XPL tokens, which was just under $7,000 at the time. So you get a lot of value and for very little cash input. And so you had this influx of people wanting to, you know, buy up those tokens to get access. As time went on, though, you know, I think Plasma Live went live today, or Plasma One, I should say. Plasma One went live today. I kept saying live twice. But yeah, they went live today. So, you know, that acted as a catalyst for them. I don't think a lot of people prepared for that as well. Like a lot of people didn't really prepare for the fact that, you know, that would be launching. But, you know, now they also have like marketing and all these other things. And so, you know, when you consider the fact that they were at like 160 mil circulating with a massive TAM, then, you know, obviously just kind of made for a really good setup. So that was really the core of what Ika was saying in the Discord. And by the way, if you join the Discord, this is all public information. Like this is all the full thesis was shared inside of the Discord. So you guys will be able to get access to that at any point. But yeah, that was the idea behind XPL. So obviously, you know, you have that. It's creating this tailwind for neobanks, and we actually had Avicii here get shilled by Ansem live on the timeline. Obviously, Avicii without an Ansem shill, is a pretty good project on its own. Has really impressive metrics, card spend, retention, month-on-month growth. And I'm sure Dom is going to go through all of it with
So
you.
it's funny, yesterday, Josh and I talked about the MetaDAO project. We covered the entire MetaDAO ecosystem. And the core crux of that conversation, what I was saying was, we're going to be at a point where crypto's so in the gutter. A lot of these are going to trade at, slightly at a premium to, or slightly below their net asset values. How I would look at this is anytime you can get an entry at net asset value, or with about 2 months of burn below net asset value. So let's say they spend 100K, they have 100K a month in permissions on how much they're allowed to take from the treasury. If they have $1 million in the treasury and 100K per month in issuances, I would maybe enter at any point in time. The token is trading at 1 million or 800,000, right? 900,000, 800,000, around that range. Because at any point in time, people can vote to liquidate the treasury and get those assets. So you're pretty safe, right? Downside is pretty limited anytime you're taking a trade at or around net asset value, right? That was the crux. What it came down to was, okay, so now we understand when you should be taking an entry. When do you want to take an entry in terms of timing? Well, a lot of people are overlooking this. Crypto markets are sleepy. If you're paying attention, you would probably be seeing this happening with Avicii. Okay. Avicii has $40 million in volume, 950,000 transactions, 8.8 thousand users. June is on track to be their biggest month yet. Avicii money holders own the asset and IP 1-to-1. Team tokens don't even begin unlocking till 100 million. The team only gets their full payday when Avicii hits 5 billion. Plasma sits around 1.2 billion. Avicii is at 15 million. And then if you also go to what Profit had to say, right, and I'll pull a Profit's account, founder of MetaDAO, he made a post recently on Avicii as well, which is the fastest growing neobank in all of crypto. Maybe it was a reply here. Let's see. The fastest growing credit card, I should say, crypto credit card. Come here. Where is ya? Okay, well, I just saw him posted not too long ago. But nonetheless, it was a chart, and maybe he retweeted it. But it was a chart of Avicii, and it was number one on the fastest growing list of credit cards. So, here's an Avicii update nonetheless. So you look at Avicii, and when does it become a good trade is what I guess I'm getting back at. And so you have to look at a few things. Look at their metrics, look at their revenue. And there's this point in time where they go from losing money to actually revenue positive. And you want to get in that position where you're tracking the metrics, right? We're watching it grow. 40 million in volume. We're tracking the metrics. At what point does a treasury start receiving inflows rather than outflows? And you get to a point where there's no longer a decrease in net asset values every month, but an increase in net asset values that is happening. And that's when you want to enter at or around net asset value. So timing is important. So if you went and had a look at Avicii revenue right now, are they outpacing what they're drawing from the treasury every month? I'm not sure. Frankly, it's research I have to do. But if they're still drawing $100,000, $200,000 a month, then that's okay. If you foresee this trend to continue where it's going up and to the right, I mean, you can front run that a little bit. But if you're really, really wanting to be safe, your best bet is waiting for that convergence of revenue generating and net asset value to happen, where the net asset value is no longer being drained, revenue is starting to be made, and you stop getting that dip in treasury value, and you actually get the increase in treasury value. That's when you want to enter, especially if the charts are growing like this. If the charts are continuing to grow, you have a great entry, very little downside. You're entering at net asset value, and the company is profitable. That's when people will start doing price to earnings projections on this. Right now that they're actually earning money. So that's when you want to enter anything in MetaDAO, whether that's Umbra, whether that's Avicii, whether that's you name it. Okay. So same thing, just like we saw this happening with Avicii, same thing is probably going to happen with Umbra when they start flipping to profitability. And I'm not sure if Avicii is profitable yet. Something to look into, but that's generally like the rule of thumb. With that said, Chill gave the Plasma thesis. Here's the Avicii thesis. Fastest growing crypto credit card. You see the numbers here. $40 million in volume, 950,000 transactions, 8.8 thousand users. Their biggest month yet. It's trading at $18 million, $17 million last I checked, around that point. There are betas to this, right? And that's where I say you can trade like Karma, you can trade Sauna. I personally took a trade in Karma because it's got a little bit more buzz right now. They just crossed 2 million in volume, which of course is a very small fraction of this, but the market cap's also 500K in comparison. So that's generally the take on neobanks. I would say keep eyes on Avicii, because if we're at that point I just mentioned where we're slightly above, slightly below, or at net asset value, and the company's flipping revenue positive, or it's towing that line between becoming revenue positive and the trends up and to the right, very little downside in positioning there. And you can go in with size. Of course, there's very little volume, or at least there was until today. So that's the Avicii conversation I wanted to have, guys. But we talked about this yesterday. We literally talked about Avicii and Umar yesterday on this stream before it all popped off with that exact thesis. Now, again, I don't know if that thesis is directly the reason it played out, being the net asset values increasing thesis, but it's obviously not. It's from Ansem shilling it, but that's the idea. And you can apply this to anything MetaDAO because of the structure of the company. So will this Anthem shill give an exit for long-term holders and likely end with a lower market cap? Good buying opportunity. Or is Avicii old news that is slowly dying? I don't think it's going to result in a lower market cap. I think in a lot of cases, I would say yes. A big shill like this would result in people exiting, which actually results in a lower market cap over time because everyone just exits, and then late entrants end up selling at a loss, and you end up going below where it started at. That's, I think, typically the case. Avicii is unique, I think, because a lot of people are overlooking it. And with this pump and everyone's searching for it, all attention and eyes are on kind of Avicii today. People are realizing that their numbers look like this. So I think there are a lot of people like myself, Crypto Jones, like you, maybe like Chill, who see these numbers and maybe we weren't tracking close enough, that are going to buy into that fade, right? When people start fading off, inevitably people start selling from the, the Anthem shill. I think there are people that are going to be long-term oriented that say, okay, I didn't know Avicii was doing these kind of numbers. Oh, or maybe I didn't understand the MetaDAO model where all revenues and IP are owned by the DAO and by the token holders. And now there's a lot more people that know about that. So I do think it gets faded off by those short-term thinkers who are maybe chasing attention, maybe have been sitting in Avicii forever that want to sell. But I think there's probably more volume at or above the range that accumulated at before this pump. That's my general take. Which, again, bullish karma. If Avicii goes up, karma probably follows as well. I don't know. I'm on the fence. Positioning more, I mean, obviously in relative to the size of the market, but, leaning towards playing the beta like karma, or Avicii, who is like leading in, growth in terms of cards right now. And I think I take Avicii over Plasma, to be completely honest. I think I do take Avicii over Plasma. I think Avicii might be the best trade here for the neobank meta.
I mean, it definitely is. I mean, look, the metrics show it. I mean, at the end of the day, price narrative follows price. So as XPL continues to go up, that'll shine more light on neobanking. As it shines more light on neobanking, Avicii will likely go higher, because they're just a higher valuation is justified because they have such good metrics. The other flip side to the coin is because price follows narrative. It now, just like Kins when it is now, went to like 15 mil market cap, and everyone's talking about a GameFi season.
Yeah.
So when Avicii inevitably goes to 25, 30, 40 million, wherever it's headed, it's going to shine a light on the entire narrative, and people will likely, look for, for other ways to get exposure.
Yep, I would happen to agree. I just saw this. Abe is a solo stacker. Yeah, I'm bullish solo. I'm bullish solo on what they're doing there for sure. The issue with current stable coins is none of the yield, right? What happens when you get a stable coin? You have to understand the process here. You put $1,000 in, you receive 1,000 USDC. Now, Circle is taking that money and just dropping it in T-bills, and they're earning whatever the yield, 4, 5, 6% of the T-bills. You now are streamed none of that. Avicii's flipping that on the head, and they're just streaming the T-bill earnings to holders, right? So it's a better system. Yeah, I'm bullish solo. I am bullish solo. I think I'm bullish Umber, Solo, and Avicii, to be completely honest with you. And I think a lot of them are overlooked. I think we see a similar situation in cards at some point, potentially, if revenues continue to scale. Again, big if. But I think we see a similar situation in cards. It was really hyped on launch, right? Umbra raised a ton of money. Avicii raised a ton of money. Solo raised a ton of money. Went up. Took a big nuke, went up to really high numbers that are achievable only once they start churning out a lot of revenue. Took a big nuke. People moved on, forgot about it. And now we actually get in very, very deep value territory. So, yeah, I'd say like keep eyes on MetaDAO as a whole. If you're patient, I think a lot of these will pay off. Avicii, MetaDAO, Umbra, or Avicii, Solo, Umbra are three you want to watch. And of course, if all three of these go up or one or two of them go up, MetaDAO follows and the Meta token. So I'm bullish Solo as well. Would agree with that general consensus. But
100%. Cool. Let's see what else we got. I think honestly, I don't really have too much to go over today.
I will say Cled's at a really nice zone. It's really cheap. It's like mathematically like 180, 50, 100% off of like fair value. And I think they got some big announcements coming. The silence is not a bad thing here. So I would potentially keep eyes on Cled here for y'all boys that are interested. You guys know I have a big position in Cled. So I'm bag working here a little bit, but I'm tempted and I have a large position in Cled. I don't want to overstate that. I have a large position in Cled. But I'm tempted to even add more at these levels. It's just so much buffoonery at 9 million, 7 million, 8 million when I raise at 280 million. And like they're growing pretty rapidly. I do think genuinely they raise at a $750+ million valuation by the end of the year. So, and Avi seems to believe that as well. And so far, Avi's been right. Okay. So I think Cled's a pretty good bid here. Again, for my patient fellas in the chat. Here's Umbra. We'll look at Umbra. Decent spot, 13 million.
Okay, Umbra, we see you.
Okay, Umbra. Yeah, Umbra's getting a bit of a bid here. Where is Solo? I think I have Solo on this list. Whatever, I'll just search it. I think it's up 2% on the day. Yeah. I don't know where it was. Yeah, okay. So no, this is still pretty much in this bottomed out territory. This is like Solo looks pretty good. 7 million market cap. Again, the FTV won't unlock until it's significantly higher and they achieve a lot of these like milestones. So let's take this at face value for now. 7.2 million. We need to take a look at net asset value on this, but I think it's probably not far off this. This might be a pretty good bid zone. Down here was significantly below net asset value, I believe. So, and there was a vote. There was some sort of vote where they had to rally people, and that's why this kind of caused a pump. But Solo's an interesting one. I would say be paying attention here at these levels. Outside of that, again, we talked about the ones earlier. Met being one of them. Met trading at 60 million market cap, and I'll pull this up, with $40 million of assets in their vaults, in their treasury. So like, chart looks terrible. But we're seeing this chart on a lot of other projects pumping 200 or 300%. This exact chart we're seeing pump 200 or 300%, where it's down or only perpetually. You have to understand the life cycle of Met as well. Lots of people sold their airdrop for free money in a bad market. They're still doing, $5+ million a month, I believe. $3, $4, $5 million a month in profit. Treasury is growing. It's got 40 million sitting in it, and this is trading at 60 million. About 10% emissions every year from FDV for the next 5 years. So I think Met's a pretty good trade here. Again, largely will come back with the market coming back. That's when these values will significantly jump, but it's a good one to watch. Pump as well. I think people hate it, but their revenue is undeniable. So watching Pump, watching Met, and I told you guys, like I said, Hype, JTO, Backpack, DRV, Jupiter, and even Grass you could throw in there. All interesting for me, and you don't have to go too far down the risk curve. Cards, we talked about the revenue earlier. If you guys manage to get back in the zone or even lower, back in this zone, you should be slamming it. I talked about my 2 entries here. So I talked about how I traded cards. Obviously, I took cards trade down here up 200, 300, 400%, whatever that was. I did just scale out some profit here. I will be adding back around this level, and of course, below this level as well. And I just think it's because it's been pumping. It's kind of due for a bit of a reset. If you look at each of these legs, like this leg was nice and strong. This leg was a lot lesser so, right? Or so go here. First leg, very strong. Second leg, still strong, but a lot lesser so. Third leg, much less strong. I mean, we didn't top, but a few million, right? From 26 cents, 27 cents to less than sub 30. So I do think we're having lesser reactions, probably time more due for a bit of a pullback. So I think we get to zone, and I think that's a fantastic entry. Number one, if we get below this slam city, boy, slam city. So I'm good, chill. Anything you want to cover?
No, I think we covered everything. I think we covered everything pretty well. Let's see how things hold up for tomorrow. I'm looking at. I feel like when the market turns around, MCG chads are going to eat. No alpha has gone unnoticed this whole bear market. Yes, sir.
Not a drop of alpha.
Not gonna lie. You know, the likes of Cards and many others have come on the show. So yeah, I mean, a comment said it best one time. I think Ika was the one who said this.
Cards.
The next $1 billion token will be covered on MCG under 10 million market cap. That's what Ika said. And honestly, I feel like it's probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen. And yeah, just like Dom just said, I mean, we had Serve on many times. We've had, Cards on many times. We've had so many of these great projects that are doing great things. We've had them on. And not to mention we're supported by Met. And I really I understand that they're a sponsor of ours, but this is not because they're a sponsor. I truly think that Met is very, very undervalued where it is. And I think that's going to be, but yeah, overall though, Bitcoin rejecting. Told you guys I'm bearish based on everything. Rejecting off of the key zone that we were talking about. And I told you guys I'm bearish because Warsh said that, you know, they're not thinking about any cuts right now. So anywho, yeah.
Good calls. Guys, if you get dips on a lot of these, you just got to be patient because there are fundamentally undervalued things happening. There's like so much fundamentally undervalued stuff that will get recognized at the slightest sniff of a bull market. Okay. So be ready.
Sleepy market. Sleepy market, and there's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there that's just waiting to be bought up. Right now it's a bear market. People are lazy. They don't want to do the research. They don't want to read threads or documents or look through the metrics. But if you watch MCG, you get to listen to all the good stuff. You get to hear all of the good alpha. And then if you're actually paying attention, you can actually capture a lot of these things before they get a lot of mainstream attention. And, you know, today Avicii is, you know, a prime example of that. If you've been watching the metrics, you know.
Ave, if Kled goes to 100 mil, I'll buy a Birkin myself. But I'll be happy to take you up on that because I do think Kled goes to 100 mil sooner or later. I know it sounds crazy now, but 10 exit from here.
Any guesses on what token will be an under 10 milli going to a bit? I got you right now. We just interviewed them yesterday. Squire is one. QST is another. I think QST low key. I'm not gonna lie. I think they're a massive sleeper, yo. I've thought that ever since. I don't know if you guys remember. If you guys remember, we interviewed them last year, and they were talking about their relationships with the World Bank, with the World Economic Forum, and with, you know, some of the governments that they're involved with. We talked about the background of the guy. If you guys remember, he was at the bank. He was at the bank talking to one of the top banks in like Europe or something, and that was the time of the stream. So he went into the basement of that bank, or like to like the underground, some sort of underground area below the lobby level, and the internet was bad. So ever since that stream, I literally have them on a watch list, and I think that's one that I think has a really nice potential, especially as this godly, what's the quantum computing, that's the word, as quantum computing narrative starts to build.
I think we just need to start seeing like frothy fear for this to happen. Like, I'm not saying I disagree with you, but I think it's like it's out a bit. You know, this quantum fear and risk, I think, is still not really resonating with a lot of people. So that's an interesting one, though. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a couple are on my as far as like $1 billion runners from sub 10 mil. Squire is one, Repo is one.
I mean, Cards was on here.
Sub, yeah.
I mean, close to 10 mil. Maybe it was even sub 10 mil. I can't
think
remember
it
when
was
they
sub.
came on. But that one I can probably pretty confidently say, I mean, could reach.
Oh, and possibly Pi. Pi is like, I wish we can get that team on the stream at some point, but Pi looks, from a fundamental standpoint, if the market really recognizes what it's looking at, I think those would be my $1 billion runners for sure.
Serve came on when it was like 13, 14 million, maybe it was like 12 million, slightly above that 10, but that could be a Billy runner if this AI stuff continues to, stay hot and the decentralized narrative continues to push. Pod, how about that? What about Pod?
Yeah, Pod is technically above 10 mil, but yes, that also is going to do very, very well. Yes.
When they were on our show, though, it was just around that 10 mil range. So I'll count that.
I thought when I saw that it was like 15 mil or something like that.
Well, it's at 16.6 right now, and we bottom ticked them.
Got you.
So
as we do, you're welcome, guys.
We do.
You're welcome.
As we do. I would like to think Impulsor. CPT potentially.
Perhaps.
It's
Perhaps.
I mean, look, yeah, we see these defense companies going to many, many billions of dollars, but
I just don't know what it like. It's the token. It's the token side of it. Them as a company, absolutely. But yeah, I won't say. I won't say more. But yeah, perhaps.
Cled to 1 billion for the Birkin. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, that's another one. Cled. I do think Cled goes to 1 billion. I don't know about on-chain value, but company value. CPT, yeah, CPT could take a minute, but it's on the table. Look, there's some that are on the table. I mean, look, unlikely that any of the things we just mentioned actually go to 1 billion, but out of the what has the best chance to do it? I think we named a few. So, all right, Brodigi.
Well, guys, I think we went through a ton of stuff for you guys today. Been an absolutely fantastic stream today. Let me see something real quick.
I got one more thing, dude, before we do the announcement or tomorrow's schedule, which is a banger, by the way.
Do it.
I'm not sure if you saw this. This is a little bit of alpha. Most people missed it. We ain't missing alpha. Sensei says buybacks really don't matter right now. They should be focusing. Okay, and let me just give you some context. Collector Crypt said, as part of our ongoing commitment to transparency, we'd like to provide context as to our recent treasury activity. Today, Collector Crypt, because people were assuming that they were doing buybacks. And there are some rumors going around. Today, Collector Crypt facilitated an OTC transfer of cards between a liquid fund and one of our advisors. The transaction was coordinated through our treasury, blah, 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 blah. Then we have Sensei making this quote. He goes, buybacks really don't matter right now. They should be focusing on ramping up inventory to meet demand and making on-chain market better, a place better. In my opinion, and this is a hot take, not a crazy take. In my opinion, once their marketplace transactions start increasing significantly, it might overtake their gotcha revenue. And I kind of do agree with this. People want to find a good place to sell their cards without losing 30% from eBay and at shows. I think this marketplace could become the standard. So I kind of do agree with that. Sensei makes a good point. And then I put out a tweet about this, quote tweeting Sensei, because I thought it was really interesting. And I want to know what you guys think. Which is more valuable in your mind? $2 million. Oh, wait. I can't forget this, though. Then we go to this. Look in the comments here. Collector Crypt said, just to clarify, this was not a buyback, but agreed on our point. We've ramped up on purchasing to nearly $2 million of cards each week. Each week, they're doing $2 million of purchasing for growing their inventory of cards. That's a fucking huge number, guys. Excuse my language. That's a huge number. So this is what I have to say about this. Which is more valuable? $2 million in weekly buybacks. And I should have quote tweeted the cards tweet, honestly. Missed opportunity. Which is more valuable? $2 million in weekly buybacks or $2 million invested in inventory? Inventory growth and buybacks are, in a sense, one and the same. On one hand, supply becomes deflationary with buybacks, while on the other hand, each share appreciates in value with every dollar that is going towards inventory purchases. The more cards sourced, the more the net asset value grows, which increases shareholder value. $2 million of buybacks remove supply, also increasing shareholder value, whereas $2 million of inventory growth grows the pie for all holders, increasing shareholder value. Collector Crypt is in scale mode with a genuine shot at completely disrupting the entire collectibles market. Scaling and growing inventory is greater than buybacks at this stage, in my opinion. Curious where the community stands. I think everyone kind of agrees with that. But curious where you stand, Chill. Do you think more beneficial for them at this point? And again, I think scale mode is the best thing for cards right now. They got the money, they got the wind at their back and momentum. I would scale, worry about buybacks later. But what do you think?
Honestly, same. I mean, I know from what I think either you mentioned it or they did, but they were struggling. They were struggling on the inventory side. Like they had so much demand, like they couldn't keep up. They can't keep up. So no, like scale right now, dude. Like put your money into the business. Like because at the end of the day, if you put your money into buybacks right now, and we've seen with I don't mean to like FUD. I'm not trying to FUD Pump Fund, but they've been doing $1 million worth of buybacks every single day or week or whatever it is for the last
pretty much 500K a day
for the last like however long, and that hasn't done nothing to their chart, right? So right now, like just that you're getting the tailwind from marginal buyers. People are willing to buy your token at 50, 60, 70, 80 mil, how much ever. Don't put nothing to buybacks right now. Scale. And at some point, those people they'll exit. But by the time people are exiting and you know your business would have grown so much, you can now more meaningfully buy back the tokens off the market and perhaps even have a much bigger impact because you would have scaled your business 10x.
I mean, imagine
your
what
revenue
you can do
10x.
with $2 million. Like if they did $2 million of buybacks a week rather than $2 million of inventory purchases or upgrading the systems, like imagine what you can do with $2 million. They can go and try to experiment completely on different things. They can go and try. They can buy a damn luxury car and experiment with tokenizing that. Like there's just so much they can do. It's foolish cards.
Yeah, 100%.
Peanut the Squirrel went to $1 billion. I think in a Raging Bull, a lot of these coins y'all just covered are going to go crazy.
Oh,
That's the goal.
100%.
That's the goal.
100%. But that's the thing, though, right? Like you have all of this, clearly valuable products just being mispriced, bro. They're being ignored, and it's just a great time to be in crypto. But guys, we're coming up on 3.5 hours of streaming. Had a great stream today. Pumpcade. We had Pop Punk come on, gave us some updates on the product. Absolutely masterclass of an interview. They definitely knocked it out. So shout out to Pop Punk. Peak also came on. We discussed a ton of like sci-fi. You know, we talked. We talked multi-planetary colonization using robotics. And that's a grander vision of his.
Stream from space coming soon.
Stream from space coming soon. We talked about indigenous communities and putting robot dogs to monitor nature, and it's absolutely nuts. But obviously, from a technological standpoint, they've built something very meaningful. And he kind of stumbled upon this market need, and he's now created something to fill that gap. So absolutely amazing product that he's built here so far. And it seems he's a non-crypto guy, and Virtual's actually onboarded him. And, through tokenization, that's really catapulted his business to a different level. So you definitely see the benefits of tokenization and being, tokenizing an early stage startup. Crypto Jones says on that, how is that possible that they're putting that much into buybacks and not moving the chart? Insiders dumping at a similar rate. Let's be real. Pump Fund is shady.
I actually don't think insiders are. I see this narrative quite a bit where people are like, okay, they're buying on one side and selling on sex. Centralized
No
exchange.
demand.
I just think little demand.
Nobody in this industry likes Pump Fund.
I just think it's a general market thing. Again, like when these markets turn around, Pump Fund, I can almost guarantee you Pump Fund is going to like probably 5-10x from here. It's just a matter of time.
Let me tell you that you guys know Anthony Pompliano. You guys remember that guy, Anthony Pompliano, big figure in crypto, right? No need to trench. No, he's not in the trenches. He's not trading on chain or anything. He's off in the macro world, building a Bitcoin business and doing other stuff. He knows about Pump Fund. He mentioned Pump Fund in one of his most recent videos, and it wasn't the best light. So I say all of that to say, if all of the top guys in crypto, I mean, we know that Pump Fund is doing the ace rounds, right? We know that they're starting to move in a different direction. But if that's all everyone knows about Pump Fund is shady, scammy, meme coins, pump and dumps, bad developers, the reason why we didn't have an altcoin season this time around, if that's the reason, if that's what everyone knows Pump Fund for, no one is going to buy that chart, bruh. No one is going to buy that chart. And so I just think it's a lack of demand. I mean, if you tell me that they're dumping, I don't think they're dumping. I don't. I really don't. I think they dumped their soul. They've dumped a ton of soul on the market for sure, and that's probably cap soul price. But I don't think they're dumping the token pump anyway. You're on mute, Dom.
I don't think they really can without dipping deep into their treasury. They were doing all those buybacks for the longest period of time. Remember, they burned them.
Mm-hmm.
They burned like 26% or some stupid amount. So like that money has to come from somewhere. So if they were doing the buybacks of the pump and selling on the back end, at some point they had to buy all that pump that they burned. Like,
yeah.
So they really can't. They really can't. I don't know. Maybe there's some shady stuff going, but I don't think it's a situation where they're buying back at 500K and going and selling, because now they have it programmatically built in to where every day there's automatic burns of 50% of that revenue. Burn. You can track it. So the money's coming from somewhere. Now, if those volumes and the revenue are fake and pumped up, that's another question. But again, if they're faking their own revenues and they're pumping up charts to bring these revenues in, they're just losing money doing these buybacks. Why would they do that? So it wouldn't make sense to do that, which is why I kind of disagree with that notion that they're, doing the buybacks and selling on the back end or whatever, but who knows? Nonetheless, tomorrow on stream, guys, we have a banger. Big base day, big day for the base boys. We got Kevin from GitLab coming on. GitLab was like one of the very early ones that kind of started the whole base AI run. In that same vein, we have Mac coming on, who's building Surplus. We know the conversations around compute and selling compute and a marketplace for this stuff is very, very prominent right now. Big situation with him selling the tokens on the open market. I believe he one clipped a ton to pay for just future development. People were pissed about it. We'll talk about it on the stream. And then ISO, a smaller token, Isometrics. Josh is really interested for this one. A new DeFi primitive, they say, replace binary prediction markets with continuous curve derivatives. So we'll see what that looks like in real time. Guys, that's it. Friday, we have Blockworks coming on. Of course, Blockworks just acquired Masari. That's going to be a great interview for you guys, myself included, to kind of build a good framework around trading and investing. These guys are very smart. So that's all for me. Chill.
GG's, boys. I'll see you guys on the timeline. We'll see y'all in the Discord. Appreciate you guys. Again, link in bio. Follow the @MCG live account. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Boom, boom, boom.
Peace.
We out.
Love.